Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo Saturday edition, Technical Excellence. There will be no technical problems tonight. I promise. No, that's stupid. I can't promise that. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry Channel, and with me tonight are Minions SkepTok.
Hi, everybody.
Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
And DrFunctional.
I didn't do it. Nobody saw me do it. You can't prove anything.
Disavow everything.
You never pin it on me, copper.
Disavow early and often.
Often. And get a lawyer.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I'd like to disavow. But it's a little late for that. Man, some of the stuff that I thought was funny when I was like in my early 20s, I look back and go, ugh. I mean, it's not like I ran over like a school bus full of kids or did anything really terrible, but a few of my practical jokes did get a little out of hand on a few occasions.
Well, I mean,
Just saying.
Completely fair, Harry. You've lived in California your entire life, practically.
Yeah.
If you ran over a school bus full of kids, you're white, you'd be in jail.
Probably. Yeah, probably. So, functional. Or I'm sorry, DrFunctional.
There you go.
Oh, I'm not a doctor.
Use his proper language.
Just play one on TV. Anything new and exciting in the great country of Canada, Stan?
Oh, wow. That's such a large
Change
question. No, honestly, politically, it's all more of the same kind of bullshit you guys are dealing with down there. In general.
Yeah.
Been dealing a lot with the fucking post office because they're inept retards.
Oh, wait a second. So, what was the deal with the post office? I think we were supposed to discuss this, and I forgot in a previous episode. Or I promised you a story about the post office.
So, you know, I do a lot of like stuff with Warhammer and commission painting and building and modeling and, you know, little toy soldiers for those who aren't aware in Chatland. And so a lot of this stuff gets, the head office is in the UK. So a lot of the stuff there can be produced cheaper and found cheaper and sourced cheaper. Rarer things that don't get shipped to the United States or Canada, blah, 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 blah. So I order from there relatively often, several times a year. And in doing so, you have to pay import fees and taxes and all this other wonderful fucking bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And so the problem is, this is how archaic our fucking postal service is. You're supposed to pay these postal fees at the door. You need a credit card. They take no other methods of payment. I don't have a credit card. I have a debit credit card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so the first time I found this out, I was like, well, but why can't I just, like, can you, like, try to see if the card will work? It doesn't work. So dealt with that. That was a couple of years ago. Found out you could pay this stuff in advance online. So I started doing that. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks ago, they're just like, we're not taking on online payments anymore. I'm like, motherfucker. Okay. Here's hoping they updated their terminals, which are only a year old at this point, to include debit credit cards or other forms of payment. No, of course they fucking didn't. So I now have to haul my crippled ass to the fucking post office.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when they do this, they give you a little slip that says, you know, it's like the sorry we missed you kind of slips, and it says, you know, oh, it's got the barcode and the amount you have to pay of the import fees, blah 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 blah. And it gives you the date. It says be there by the next day. And so these packages always for some reason get delivered on a fucking Friday. And then I go to the post office on Saturday. I check with the postman and say, you sure it's going to be there tomorrow? It's Saturday. Like, oh, yeah. Post goes between interdepartments on Saturdays. There's just no residential delivery. Oh, okay, fine. So I go there. Sure as shit, the package isn't there. So I have to wait another 2 days and haul my crippled ass to the post office again. And it happened fucking again yesterday. So I go to the post office today, and I'm like 2 minutes late because the Uber took fucking half an hour to get there. To pick me up. 2 minutes late, I'm like, come on, dude, please. He's like, I can't. I already closed the till. I'm like, seriously, dude? Like, look at me. Like, come on. You're really gonna make me go home and then have to come back on Monday. He's like, so I can't really. Can you at least fucking tell me if the package is there now? And sure as shit, it was there. Dude, they're so fucking inept.
Wow. Yeah, I've had opportunity to send things to and from Canada on many occasions for work. And oh my God, your import tax stuff is such a pain in the ass.
That's insane. Puerto Rico's import tax, like fuck
It is.
me,
I
man.
think I can't remember if it was you or Sora I was talking to complaining you couldn't get decent tea.
Yeah,
And I
think it was
started
Sora.
looking. Yeah, I started looking into options, and I'm like,
That was Sora, but you and I have also talked about tea, and you gave me some good recommendations that I went and looked, and they're like, oh, okay, well, they do ship to Canada, and then I do the conversion and then the import fees, and I'm like, oh, well, fuck that.
yeah, never mind that. Yeah,
like
so
on about let's just average, about $200 worth of goods. It's $40. 20% on top of our 15% tax that we have to pay on top of that.
you guys are great, but between your taxes and your weird milk, I don't know what can
But
be done for you.
Harry, here's the fucking kicker. Technically, by all abstracts, we're still a British colony. Why are we paying import taxes from the fucking motherland?
Because they still got to get it to you.
I know, but
I know.
I mean,
Yeah.
you would think that there would be better trade deals
Oh yeah.
between the big three, and yet they're not. In fact, actually, as a side note, previous to Obama, it wasn't that bad, the trade deal between Canada and the United States. The tariffs were lower, and it wasn't because of Obama. It was actually because of us. We wanted to play the big bad, tough guy and say, well, if you're not going to give us a better deal, well, then we're just going to put tariffs on your goods. And it's like, motherfucker, you don't play rough with your neighbor.
Yeah, NAFTA was supposed to take care
Economies
of
are
all
too
this.
interlinked to want to do that. So Justin Trudeau comes in and doubles it, makes it even worse, to the point where Trump is like, no, I'm not meeting with this dipshit. Elect somebody better, then I'll meet with them. Well, for right now, we'll do the USMCA and be done with it. You have no choice in the matter.
Yeah, you just look at your prime minister and know that he's sitting down. It's just a thing.
I keep telling you guys, like, it's worse than Biden. At least Biden, there's a shadow cabinet behind the scenes pulling the strings. They might be for nefarious deeds, but they're at least somewhat competent in achieving the goals that they want. Not the goals for the American people, but the goals that they want. Here, we just have a complete inept retard leading this fucking country, and it boggles my mind.
Yeah, well,
sorry, I got a little flustered because obviously, you guys can relate. Dealing with any kind of yes, they are a technically government owned or publicly owned entity, but they're all completely ran and dictated to by the union.
that sounds great.
Euros USPS or whatever the Canadian
Canadian
Postal
Post,
Service? Yeah.
Canada Post.
Yeah,
It's basically the same as the USPS.
Yeah. Well, no, I was looking up because I was like, because we have a tiny, because I live directly in between two U.S. Postal Service offices, and I was just like, I've been in there. They take cash, don't they? It was like, because my brain went, do they? So I Googled it. I was like, no, they still take cash. And I'm just
that's
what?
the thing. I could go into the post office and pay them cash or debit or whatever, but it's the whole thing that I have to,
Oh yeah, no,
the
I
reason
agree.
why I'm ordering to my home is because I'm a crippled fucking bastard, and I can't be running around all over town picking up goods for my vocation. So whatever.
yeah.
Oh no, it was just my brain made the jump to, do they still take cash? Because I was like, they better still take cash because I know West Virginians will put shotguns to heads.
And I
if they don't.
really don't have any blame or animus to the actual carriers, the frontline workers, because they actually take pride in their job. They like their job. They do their job well for the most part. It's the fucking bureaucracy.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Agreed.
we need to move forward because I don't want Skep
Moving
to
on.
fall asleep. He's going to think we forgot about him, and I promise I
Yeah.
didn't.
And talking about the post office.
But to get to
is pretty
Skep, I
boring.
have to first talk to Serenity as I go
Hola.
from left to right on the icons on my screen. Hi, Serenity.
Hello.
How are things in the great state of West Virginia?
We're good. We're supposedly going to get rain and it's going to start cooling off eventually.
Oh,
Which
we've
is about the time it starts cooling off.
Oh, we've had like this glorious week of colder weather after it was just being hot and annoying, where rain off to the south, cold, like, like highs in the 60s kind of weather. And just like you wake up and not a lot of fog in the morning, just half clear skies and 60 something degree temperatures. It was nice in Silicon Valley and it's nice on the Central Coast. It's just, it really makes you wish that fall was here for real, but it's all going to change. It's just going to be come Monday, like, psych, have 90 degrees again. Oh, you bastard.
What's like, I partially blame Texas because everyone should blame Texas. No, I'm kidding, Scott.
No.
But there's a lot of storms coming up through the Gulf and coming off the Atlantic.
Yeah.
So we're not getting as much rain as we usually do. Mind you, we're nowhere near California level because our shit's still green. Or Southern California level because I think they get hit the worst with the drought. But it's just one of those things. It's like we don't consider it to fall too much around here until one, the leaves change, and one, leaves change, two, bridge day, three, the rains start coming because we have. It's not a full blown monsoon season, but it might as well be.
This should be interesting. There's a week La Nina starting. It's going to be fun. It's good. It's going to be interesting, but that's what the weather does. It's always interesting somewhere.
Oh yeah. Well,
I'm just looking forward to fall. They're starting to put out the Halloween decorations at the stores and getting the pumpkin patches all prepped for the visit from the Great Pumpkin, and it's just all going to be great. Other than the fact that I have to deal with some final tax stuff on October 15th, there's nothing about October I don't like. So
we gotta get ready for the children.
exactly. So Skep,
Yes.
would you be our greeter tonight?
Absolutely.
Since you're way better at it than me, and
Who? Well, I don't know.
and
about
Gen T
that.
Maxie's there. You got to say hi to her.
Jen is there. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. What is going on here? There we are. Here's the close. Who? Yeah, Jen's here. Hey, Jen, Cannibalistic Wizard. Mike R was first in chat this evening, and of course, Spittlebuggies is here. And I think that's most of us so far.
Cannibalistic
so,
Wizard.
Guys, we
yeah.
appreciate you coming in tonight, and we do this for you. Thank you.
Mike
great to
R,
see you.
Green Badger. Yep. Oh, good. Everything's going well. So, what is somebody
Hello, boyus.
saying? Like the tea you get at Chinese joints. No. I actually really prefer the stuff from India to the stuff from China. Just a completely different taste. I like my tea high in caffeine and black.
Yeah, I don't like
Like
green
you like
tea.
your men.
It's not good taste.
Yeah, high in caffeine. Oh, speaking of which, I was at the restaurant supply today, and I saw this supposedly like smart water sort of thing. It's like, oh, it's going to make you smart, and it's got 10 calories, and it's on sale. You should try it because it's nootropic, and it's all these good things, right? It's going to be great. And it's on sale. It's only like $1.50 a can. What a savings. And I look at this stuff and go, huh. And then I see 200 milligrams of caffeine in one of these little things that's like the size of a thing of Red Bull. It's like, I do not need 200 milligrams of caffeine in addition to all the caffeine I'm already consuming. That just seems like a bad idea. That should come with a free EKG.
Sounds like you picked up an Alani.
It was called Celsius.
Oh yeah, Celsius has got a lot in it.
200
Ghost
milligrams
has a
of
lot.
caffeine. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, kids are
Yeah, there's a
getting
reason.
into that.
Yeah, it's the reason why they're more and more doctors are like pushing like don't give this to your children.
well, I mean, do kids need energy drinks?
Well, I've been
Usually-
saying for a while it should be regulated just like any other sort of like alcohol or tobacco. Like you should not be allowed to sell kids caffeine. It is ridiculous. Like the levels of consumption over the last 3 decades alone has just gone through the roof.
Well, they
and
also the
continuing
issue
to spike.
is there's G Fuel, there's all those, and Ghost Energy and Prime and Alani at least is staying pointed toward adult women. That's the reason why it's mostly like pinks and blues and stuff like that. But G Fuel is one of the oldest ones. Red Bull's one of the oldest ones, and Monster are some of the oldest ones. But those are the ones that like kids whose parents, either by their own choice or their parents, like are like, you need to be in like 5 million sports, and we need to go, and you need to get straight A's. So that's
speed for your child, so he'll achieve at the rate that you demand it.
Yeah, that's basically
That's
what
healthy.
happens, is that it's kids who are forced to keep their grades high, or at least try to keep their grades high, be in sports as well as go to school full time. And when you take into consideration how many hours that is, it's just, most of them get maybe 3 to 5 hours of sleep at night. So there's kids, like I remember even back when I was in high school, there were kids, just the football team, the band did it a lot too. Just chug Monsters. Because there was a gas station near like down the road from my high school, and they could just walk to it, get a Monster, and come back.
We didn't have anything like that in high school.
No, my high school we did.
So weird.
Of course, I was in the transitional period of high school. It's where they still allowed soda machines in the schools. So that was fun. I enjoyed being able to get a Dr. Pepper every day, because I'm that person.
What do you think of this, Skep? This in mildly psychogenic depressive states. This in minutes with rafetamine phosphate.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
That'll pick you up.
Yeah.
I'll pick you up to the moon.
Yeah, that's actually an amphetamine. That's
Yes, it is.
is that dextro? That's Dex, isn't it?
I'm not
Amphetamine?
sure.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I've got it right here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We know that it ends in the right thing for it to basically be in that same family of drugs, but it promotes cheerfulness, mental alertness, and optimism.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Oh boy is right. Because it used to be that they had these things, but you had to go to the doctor, and then the doctor would give it to you relatively freely.
That was amphetamine hydrochloride.
Yeah.
That was like really crude. That's just like,
What about Smiling Bob here?
Benzodrine. Oh boy.
Benzodrine sulfate. I believe that's an amphetamine.
He never stopped smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because your face froze like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Good times.
benzos, man. That's what benzos used to mean before benzodiazepines became
The big thing.
prominent. Remember, there was a debate. I remember debating this at college, whether or not the song "Mother's Little Helper" was about
The pill.
benzodiazepines or
Valium.
speed. Well, the Valium is benzodiazepine.
Oh, right.
It's diazepam. That is the mother molecule. But
Good stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's delicious.
Well,
But
I told you.
back then it was being carried by stuff like Librium. It was the early stuff. And Benzodrine is still a very crude form of amphetamine. They have much better forms of amphetamine.
Yeah. Favorite of line cooks everywhere, right?
Yeah, not wrong.
Yeah.
Drivers too.
Put it in my
Yeah. Benzodrine. Oh, God.
Yellow Jackets, baby.
Yeah. Good times. So, God, what was I going to tell you? Oh, because we were
alcohol to bring you back down.
so many things. There's so many directions we could go in.
Was it about drugs? Was it about Israel? Was it about the election?
Mama?
Was it about Kamala Harris?
Okay, well, I'm going to give you an option, but first, is there anything you want to share before we go into the topics on the spreadsheet?
We picked the last few cherry tomatoes today, ate them, and pulled down the vines. So all I've got to my credit is a few blackberry plants, a lemon tree, and the pepper plants. That's the SkepTok farm has been reduced.
A whole lot of mulch.
Yeah.
Certain amount, yeah.
Well, I put a bunch of my cherry tomatoes in things that can be moved, and I'm seriously contemplating bringing some of them in and letting them overwinter under lights in the garage.
We've got 4 or 5 pod tomatoes, but
you know, but just because it'd be nice to have some decent tomatoes to eat in March. But this is probably not interesting for everybody.
yeah. Okay.
So which way would you like to go? Would you like to talk about, I mean, this is a question for everybody. We could start off with the Hezbollah pager thing, or we can go with something else. What would you like to talk about? I've got a bunch of topics here. The Hezbollah pager thing, got an animal thing. I've got a thing that I just simply say called Donald Trump's ego. We've got taxation, Oakland, always a good one. Food, surprise, science news, rubber hose cryptography. Yeah, we got a bunch of stuff. Any particular direction you guys would like to go?
Well, do we want to start with food and then work our way down to the sadness?
Sure. Well, I've got a ton of palate cleansers. I think we're going to make it.
I'm sure you do.
I think we're going to make it. In fact, we could start with a palate cleanser. Why not, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Eat dessert first.
Eat dessert first. Okay. So what I did not know was my favorite meme. This is a stupid fucking shirt. You don't surf. You've never surfed. Lying little shit with your bullshit shirt. Fuck you. I didn't realize this was actually covered in Know Your Meme under a thing called captioned stock photos. It's part of a bigger class of memes. I had never really given it a whole lot of thought. All these different examples. What does this one say? Sorry.
Oh, they put black.
You think you're the Pope, you little shit? I'm the fucking Pope.
There you go.
It's just like all this stuff. I really love, my favorite meme, obviously. But, man, there's a lot.
I want to say to the Pope, you think you're a holy father? Huh? You never slept with a woman?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this one looks interesting. I wonder if he's thinking about me. I can't step on the cracks. Okay.
We all saw that at the same time.
Nice.
Lord have mercy.
Good times. Anyway, that's not what we're here for. But I didn't know that my favorite meme was the flagship meme of a proud class of memes.
Yes.
It's sort of like finding out that Pluto is the king of the minor planets. Just
Yes.
yeah. Instead of being
template.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, well, here's another thing that I saw. Let's just do another palate cleanser. I'm just titling this: Was it worth leaving the camera outside? So somebody did an astrophotography time lapse and asked the question: Is it worth leaving the camera outside? I'll let you judge.
That was
We will kill the music, though.
This is the darkest place on Earth.
That's what he's claiming.
Not yet.
Not yet. And then it
I've
gets
seen
dark.
darker places than this.
And then you see the Milky Way that comes up. There was I think anytime you take a camera outside and take a picture of the sky, you're already ahead of the game compared to not doing that. That's always the right choice. There was a power outage in New York one time, and people got freaked out because they didn't know what that big bright cloud was in the sky. It's like they hadn't seen the Milky Way before. How sad is that? That the light pollution is just so bad that they just didn't know there was anything up there. And I've thought about this. I think we do people a disservice to not get them under dark skies. I mean, to take the kids to there, because your whole view of the universe might actually be different. You look up, you see 14 stars. That's all you see. And if you don't know any better, I think grasping the thing, you would think that that's the universe, right?
Yeah.
It's the thing we're standing on and 14 stars. And then you go under dark skies and it's like, holy crap.
I live in the
Universe.
I live in the only part on the east coast of America, not the only part, but the mid-Atlantic east coast. That's the dark. That's actually in the
you
dark.
actually have some light wells down. Yeah.
Well, it's like if you look at the map of light pollution for the east coast,
just
the
look
area
at the
where I'm in,
just the nighttime map of the U.S. shows you to be in a dark place.
Yeah, so it's one of those. It's like I'm in one of the few spots where it's dark enough that we can see everything when it gets nightfall. So.
I will tell you the darkest I've ever been, the best viewing conditions I've ever seen, was on a moonless night at 10,000 feet in the middle of winter in Fairplay, Colorado, just outside Fairplay,
That
Colorado.
sounds about right.
Mhm.
And the starlight was so bright it cast a shadow without
Yep.
a moon.
Yep.
I've
Yep.
never had that happen, and the only time that happened too, we saw that phenomenon a couple of times when I was camping, when I was a Boy Scout in Colorado.
But
You have to be up the mountain.
did your eyes get adjusted? Well, the problem is at 10,000 feet, if you're not used to that, it actually affects the light sensitivity of your eyes
Yes,
substantially.
Of course, I was living at 7,700 feet at the Air Force.
Okay,
Academy, so
that's
where
actually
I lived.
that's
you know,
really
so
good.
It was not a big deal to go up to 10
Okay,
grand.
good. So you got to really enjoy it. The darkest you can get. Some people say that it's really like in parts of the Australian outback, and it's
Yeah.
so dark there that you can see what they call the ghost light or the Gegenschein.
The Gegenschein, right?
Yeah. And that's
I
caused
haven't heard
by
that term in a long time.
that's caused by high energy particles causing photons to be emitted in the upper atmosphere and then scattered, the ghost light. But yes, the answer is always correct. Yes, you could do that. So one more fun thing just to make us feel particularly good. People in Iceland are collecting baby puffins in the streets and throwing them back into the ocean. I assume you folks have heard about this, that baby puffins get confused by the lights
Yep.
in
And
Iceland.
they go they go toward it instead of away from it. and
So
they
you
have to
send
go.
get your kids all fixed up and get people out there and they pick up the baby puffins and then they take them out to the ocean and go, here, fly, and they just chuck them off a cliff. Now, it doesn't hurt them, mind you. It actually saves them from dying lying on the streets just being, silly little stupid
Abused.
birds.
Or getting eaten by cats or getting jumped by other like foxes and stuff like that. So if you shove them out in the ocean where they're designed to swim, because watching a puffin swim is fun because it's just like this weird mixture of like a penguin
Yeah, it's like a
flying.
penguin. They fly through the water, don't they?
It's so cool to watch. But yeah, you just gotta throw them back in. It's like nope, wrong way, little buddy. Go that way.
Okay. Well, I think we're fortified now. Let's just do the pager thing since it's at the top, right?
All right, everybody, gird your loins.
So Hezbollah device explosions, the unanswered questions. So the reports came in, bunch of pagers in Lebanon started blowing up, hurting some people, injuring a lot more, which raises a whole bunch of questions like how?
Well, I know the backstory. If you want an explanation of what happened, how they set it up, and what they did, I will tell you the story.
Sure, but I'm going to interject if any of my information is different than yours, just to keep us all honest.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Some time ago, the Israelis set up a company called BAC. This is a Mossad operation top to bottom. And they said, we are going to be in the business of providing needed equipment for our friends in Hezbollah. And that's where the whole pager thing started. When they found out they were going to be ordering the pagers. This happened like a year ago, or even 18 months ago. There's a couple of different reports out there. They had been planning for this for a long time. They put this mock company BAC together, and this girl was an amazing saleswoman for Mossad, sold the pagers to the people who were buying them for Hezbollah, and the deal was done. They did basically the same thing with the radios. That's the information that I have.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, the radios too. Yeah.
but it raises yet more questions. First of all, that's a hell of an op, right?
Oh my
just,
God.
that's just genius. It's like, well, let's convince them that they don't want to use cell phones, that for security they should use pagers.
That can't be hacked.
Sun Tzu is smiling.
I mean,
promise you,
this
wherever he is.
This is genius. When they're not busy controlling the weather, they're cornering the market on Lebanese pagers. Genius, right? Okay.
Which is also, if they looked into it, would be true, because like pagers are a little bit they can be hacked, but it's like if you use code, it's harder. So it's like
They're
so
more
if they-
analog than they are digital.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. They're not wrong. It's just they weren't They were
The
not
great thing
100%
was it was
truthful.
only the Hezbollah, only these criminals
Yep.
had the pagers. I heard Rashida Tlaib's hand got blown off actually, but because only the Hezbollah criminals, had these pagers.
Well, bear with me. Ryan McBeath, who I've talked about a few times, he does analysis stuff on YouTube, former military guy, tech person. He's an interesting enough guy. I do not always agree with him, but I definitely like his content. He went through this whole analysis, which was essentially designed to say, I don't think there could have been explosives in those devices. And his reasoning was that because eventually one of these people is going to go through an airport, and airport security is going to swipe the little nitrate thing on it and go, there's something off with this. Garden much? They're going to, a series of questions will sort of ensue, and they would find any sort of explosives that were in this thing. Now, I think that's a fair point, because that would essentially, his theory was that they did something, some kind of signal went to the pagers to cause like a part or something on it to essentially, well, no, this is what he said, to essentially overload, and that's what caused the explosion. And I'm going to press F to doubt, because I just don't see the energy being what it needs to be to cause something like that to happen. And I don't want to give people information on how they can hide explosives and things to make it through airport security. But...
Well, Spittlebuggy just posted something.
Oh, what did he say? The special crystal set in them, and they use the lithium battery as a boom boom. No need for anything expensive.
No, that's not actually how that happened.
I'm looking forward to like somebody like Ars Technica actually coming out with an article on this, because the battery is the power source, right? The lithium battery. Yeah. And the lithium battery can only discharge so much power at a time. There's a rate at which it can expend power. It has all this potential energy. Like if it catches fire, it's a pain in the ass to put out because it's got all this energy density. But the amount of power it can actually put out over a short period of time is pretty limited. So they'd have to do some weird combination of capacitors and other things to get that to happen. Mm-hmm. And I don't see it being as lethal as what they're talking about.
No way.
I could be wrong. Okay.
Well, there's also the fact, like, I get where the guy's coming from.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, one, how many places are these people who have these kind of things traveling? Two, if they're traveling, they're going to be like any group. They're going to either have people who are paid off on the inside, or they've threatened them, or something, because they're not going to be just carrying the pager. They're going to be carrying other stuff that's probably so they can move it. So
the information that I got from someone who serves in part of the intelligence division of the IDF was that 3 or 4 grams of explosives were sealed into an envelope, and that's what provided the explosives.
I feel like they would have to.
Huh?
I feel like they would have to, because I just don't see the energy being elsewhere.
That is what they did.
Yeah.
Yes, that is what they did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm agreeing with you.
I know you understand.
I do understand, which means that they had to do that and then just antiseptically down to the, just to the nth degree. So they had to clean all that stuff out and put it back together.
Yes.
And that's where the skill is.
This was Mossad selling them the pagers. They didn't realize they were dealing with Mossad agents. They thought this BAC, they set it up in Budapest, for God's sake. Mm-hmm. Just for legitimacy. They spent millions of dollars to set this up. It's an outstanding op. It's an amazing thing.
Well, it's a really good op, but at the same time, it's like I said, I understand the guy who you were listening to on YouTube was what he was saying, Harry, but at the same time, it's like, this is fucking Mossad. Really?
Oh no, I'm not agreeing with him. I'm actually disagreeing with him. He did this analysis, and I still think there had to have been a chemical energy source for this, and that somebody expertly did it in such a way that they were able to actually get past security scans.
Yeah, and Mossad would have tested them 5 million times to make sure there was no way for it to accidentally go off.
Yeah.
For it to make it so, like, well, we know these idiots aren't going to open them up, so we can get clean, make sure they were clean as hell. And if not, they were probably, especially if it was an affiliated Mossad place, they probably were tracking some of them to make sure. Like, so it was one of those, or they already paid off customs to get them down to where they needed to go. Like, I think.
Plus, they were excellent pagers.
Yeah.
Hezbollah
things
was
weren't
really
cheap.
happy. Hezbollah was really happy with them until they started blowing
Yeah,
them up.
reliable,
Yeah.
clear, readable. I think they were actually originally ICOM from
Yeah,
Japan.
Sounds-
It's like
sounds
an old,
right.
it's like an old 10-year-old ICOM design,
Yep.
and now people in
What a great idea.
Lebanon are just scared to turn on anything. It's like no cameras, TVs, computers. It's all
don't
gonna
blame
go.
I understand where they're coming from. It's just
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's kind of like I think people sometimes don't realize, and once again, I'm talking about the YouTube guy. No one here. I'm talking about the YouTube guy. I don't think people realize how the world is predominantly stupid people, but when people are smart, they're fucking smart,
Yeah,
and the fucking smart ones can do amazing things if they know how they're doing it, they've been trained properly, or their brain just works that way. And it's just like they would have tested everything, they would have looked at everything, they've dealt with Hezbollah, ISIS, Hamas, all of them for decades at this point.
Yep.
They know how their scanners work, they know how these guys do things. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like, honey, I understand where you're coming from, but this is not a 2-bit backwater militia trying to kill the president thinking they
No.
can change something. This is not them.
So I have a hot take for you, Serenity, and here's
Go
my
for it.
hot take. They did go through airport security, and the sensors did go off, but they said, these guys all work for Hezbollah. Of course, they're covered in
Yeah.
nitrate residue. Next,
Yeah.
and they just passed
Yeah,
on through.
That's the other one. It's like, do you think these people aren't known entities to a lot of these airport security guys? Either because they've been paid off or they're terrified? No.
Yeah.
Or they were too busy laughing. These losers still use pagers? What the hell?
Pagers are
Yeah,
great.
that too. Yeah, pagers are awesome.
They're
Um,
antiquated.
Well, I mean, but they're great for what
They
they're
are, but
good
that's what makes
for.
them awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fit for purpose, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, I carried a pager for a long time, and
Probably a drug
it
dealer.
is a pain in the ass having to pull over and find a payphone with a pager in your hand. You know, it's like it's dark. You're in the middle of the nowhere.
What
You're
year was the first year you ever carried a pager, Harry?
let's see, what year was it? I think it was 1990. So I was late to the pager game.
Yeah, I got you by about
94.
16 years.
That's true.
1974.
But I was just a
Oh, no.
youth, and I had no need to carry such a thing before that.
I was a
Then,
youth
Oh no.
also.
then I became a professional person.
You want to hear some convoluted stuff?
Sure.
So, my grandfather was still carrying his pager into the early 2000s,
Mhm.
but he also had a cell phone. But this is the early 2000s, so this is back when cell phones when you had to pay by the minute.
Mhm.
So if you really, really, really needed to talk to him, you'd page him, and then he'd call you.
Yep.
So this way, it was, and he knew what it was about, and he knew not to answer the phone because if you really needed to talk to him, you'd page him first.
Sure he wasn't a drug dealer?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, maybe Scap is the only one that affected us. But when I heard about this pager thing, a song crept into my head.
Oh, Jesus.
Scap, do you know which song? It's a jingle. Do you know the jingle I'm thinking of?
Let's see.
Don't say it. I just want to know if you think you know what it is.
I'm worried.
I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play
Okay,
it.
play
Okay.
it. I can't guess it.
You've made some new friends who live far from you, and keeping them close is so easy to do. Reach out and touch someone. Reach out, call up and just say hi.
Oh, reach out and touch someone.
So when I heard people were getting their pagers blowed up, the first thing they said it was sending some kind of signal. Yeah, reach out and touch someone
I was thinking, reach out and touch me.
with
Yeah.
extreme prejudice.
And when you see those pictures of those people without hands and blinded,
Yeah,
ask yourself a question. I want you to ask yourself this question:
yeah.
Was it worth your eyes and hands to kill those 12 children who were playing soccer? Their body parts were scattered all over the soccer field. Was it worth it? Was it worth it? You horrible, hideous assholes.
Well,
Karma's a
yeah,
bitch.
yeah, and everybody already knows sort of what side I'm taking, but for the moment, I'm just looking at it antiseptically, as in the Israelis pulled off one hell of an op, and just
Yep.
from a respect. Okay, this is a
110%.
clever bit of fuckery that you guys have pulled off. I mean,
Not since that
Yeah.
business with the horse back in Trojan days has
yeah,
something gone quite this well.
yeah. So,
Just clapping for them.
Yeah.
Way to go, guys. Way to go.
respect. Okay, so let's see.
More.
How about something completely different? Jogger left bloodied, dazed, and crying after getting mauled by a gang of otters.
They're mean.
Look at these
They're
little
mean.
bastards. Look at them.
They're
They've got like a gang.
mean.
Was
Oh,
this
yeah, that's what they're
California?
No.
Oh God. No, it's
One was
Australia,
left
if I'm
crying in a
right.
pool of her own blood
Malaysia.
after
Oh,
getting
Malay-
savaged by a gang of otters in Malaysia. And you know,
Malaysian otters are mean.
and what does this tell us? The same thing I've been
girl.
saying all along. Otters are dicks.
Are the devil.
Yeah,
They're the devil.
they're Muslim.
They're not
otters.
cute.
They're Malaysia.
They're not
Well,
cute.
they are cute, but they're the devil.
They're evil, and they
They're evil,
attack
yes, I will agree.
innocent jogging women. And honestly, if I had a pack of otters coming at me like this many otters, I would be a little concerned. That's a lot
I
of
would
otter.
stop laughing and unload into them.
That's not.
Yeah,
that's not
it's
like
like-
Otter 841 on the
But
surfboard.
that was my point. Like, okay, Malaysia, they're not strapped. They're not an armed populace. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're at the mercy of freaking otters of all things.
Stupid otters.
Well, not just otters. Many other things. Monkeys, for example.
Oh,
monkeys
yeah.
are
Oh, monkeys
Running
are
through
assholes.
The towns
Yeah.
on they do that in Thailand to a less extent, much more in Cambodia and Malaysia.
Yeah, this isn't a Ronald
They
Reagan
run
movie.
here.
You know, this isn't Clint Eastwood hanging out with his chimpanzee friend. This is monkeys are dicks.
You know, you
Well,
wouldn't wanna
it's
hang
a
out with
lot
a
of these groups
chimpanzee
of-
anyway.
Yeah,
Of higher intelligence animals who lose the fear for groups of humans tend to become dangerous to the humans because then they think, okay, well, these aren't predators, so I can do whatever the F we want, and things like this happen. Things like the otter in California that's beating up surfers. Like,
Well, that's just pregnancy hormones. Don't be mean to her. No, I'm kidding.
yeah. She's not a nice otter.
It's
Oh.
like
they have
got
them.
her
They
on-
have them. They have them in just off the coast of BC too. Like
Yep.
they've become so accustomed to humans, they're not afraid of us anymore. And I think we need to instill some fear back into the lesser species of mammals on Earth. We need to, flop our dicks onto the table and go, we own you. You exist
see it
by
for
the
the
grace
camera.
of us. Aww. Cutie princess.
All right. Shut.
She's doing
Looking
really
so
well.
much better.
All right. So,
Oh
um,
You're a
God, they mauled her
mensch.
for 5 minutes.
yeah, they messed her up.
Christ.
I mean, it's the New
Arms,
York Post, but
legs, head.
yeah, not good. Otters are dicks. That's my
She was in the
official.
capital too.
Yeah.
Which is the thing that actually probably may have helped her.
So let's just do Donald Trump's ego and get this out of the way. Oh wait, I can't because I didn't.
Be a long subject.
I didn't do the link.
Okay.
I did the subject twice. Hold on, let me find this. This shouldn't take too long. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment.
Donald Trump's ego. What
Yeah,
about
we're-
Kamala Harris's ego?
Well, what about Kamala Harris's ego?
She's calling him out, saying, let's do another debate. Let's do another one.
Oh, is she?
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
sure.
gonna be delicious.
Yeah,
it should be some fun.
She really doesn't learn, does she?
yeah. Well, let's have another, one where the moderators are only going to fact check you. That sounds great.
They're going to do this one on CNN, I believe. He's gonna
Oh
host
well,
this
yeah,
one.
no. That
Yeah, that'll be
So
totally
Trump will
different,
get a
right?
better, get a better deal.
Yeah, that time she won't need to have an earpiece. She'll just need. They'll already give.
He
her
is not
questions.
accepted, to my knowledge.
Okay,
Well,
well,
yeah,
I'll
I
tell
wouldn't
you.
either.
I'll tell you what the story is because I can do this from memory, and I don't need an article to support this. So, Trump says Steve Garvey, former baseball legend, running for senator in California,
Good guy, too.
good guy, Republican, actually doing pretty well, and all things considered that it's California and California is stupid. Says Steve Garvey making a big mistake by not seeking MAGA endorsement.
Oh yeah, that thing he's pulled shit in the past. Yeah.
Seriously, I mean, you really think you've got a Republican who's doing well in a race in California, and you're going to put him over the top by looking for a MAGA endorsement?
Yeah.
This is like, okay, Donald, we love you, but this is not how politics work. I mean, I think he probably should not be giving people advice on how to run their races in places that he's not familiar with. That just seems so out of touch. It's like, do you really believe this, or is this just your ego talking? Because strategically, that's a terrible idea. If anything, Garvey's trying to get as far away from that sort of thing as possible.
Away from the right as far as he can.
Yeah, he's basically saying, no, I'm not like those other Republicans. I'm like a friendly California Republican, and you
I'm
can
a Joe
totes
Scarborough Republican.
you can totes vote for me, and it's going to be just fine. And the people that he's running against are all terrible. I mean, really, really terrible. Like Schiff, the guy from the Trump impeachment things that anybody with a brain hates.
Shifty Schiff.
Shifty Schiff is one of the people he's running against.
Oh,
Well,
good Lord.
the issue is an Emerson poll that was run about a week ago. Schiff was still up 22 points.
Yeah, Schiff is unbeatable in
Because it's like
California,
vote blue no
unfortunately.
matter who.
Yeah, because Californians are morons.
It was like
No offense.
Schiff, Katie Price, something. I think her name is Katie Price or something.
sounds about right.
And then there was, this other woman who was like misreparations, and I can't remember her name. Sorry, I'm sorry. That makes me a racist. Whatever. But I can't remember everybody in politics. But yeah, the last thing in the world he needs to do is be going after that coveted MAGA endorsement in California.
I was about to say, like, at least the Emerson poll, from what it shows. Now,
Yeah,
mind you,
kiss that.
I take polls with a grain of fucking salt anyway. 'Cause
Right.
They're too easy to manipulate. But the one they did shows Schiff, Garvey, and then undecided. Like, there's nobody else anybody else is paying attention to.
Yeah.
If Garvey got and the undecided's only 13%, and if this is true, and Garvey got the 13%, I think you would have Schiff terrified. But as it is, it's 33 to 55. It's not. If that's the true number, which it's California, it probably is a true number.
Who the hell
It's
knows?
not. Yeah, it's not happening. Florida is Mercasa Powell D, Scott R. Scott's winning. Ohio's Brown D, Moreno R. Moreno's losing by 2.
Yeah.
And Texas is Allred and Cruz.
Yeah, but MAGA endorsement's not going to help you in California.
Yeah.
I mean, it might help you in the not deep blue city states
Yeah, and the
of
purple
California. It might help you in Fresno, I suppose.
Yeah. Or Orange County.
So
Actually,
So,
Orange County's blue now, unfortunately.
are?
Yeah, sorry.
all those Hollywood
what's
people.
what's the story here? Because I'm not getting any context here. Was it a passing question? Somebody asked Trump about Garvey, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this guy Garvey, he's doing well," and Trump is like, "Yeah, he's great, but so you should ask for the MAGA endorsement."
Yeah.
Or was it I got a real beef with this Steve Garvey. Oh, tell me, Mr. President. Oh well, he doesn't want a MAGA endorsement. Like, I mean, it kind of really matters.
It does. And unfortunately,
Because
I
if it's
don't
the
know the answer
former-
because I read this before last week's show and I forgot. And I can't find the link because I'm an idiot. So
My point is, if it's the former, I mean, that's the media blowing it out of proportion because, of course, it's death by 1,000 cuts to Trump.
Were you trying to think of Barbara Lee?
yeah, Barbara Lee. Why?
Yeah.
Did I insult
the-
Barbara Lee accidentally?
The,
Just when you said who was talking about getting doing reparations.
She's big
one.
on reparations.
She's big on reparations.
Yeah.
but the direct quote from the Newsweek article from Trump is, "I don't know much about Steve Garvey," and it was asked by KTLA. I think he's made a big mistake because he hasn't reached out to MAGA, period. And
Yeah.
if he doesn't have MAGA, comma, he's got no chance.
Well,
Well,
that's
he's also
not the
got
issue.
No chance with or without Magna. He has no chance.
I don't know.
And then-
We could find embarrassing pictures of Schiff that might.
no one
yeah,
cares.
I don't know.
It's like AOC's district in New York.
Oh.
You could slap a D on a glass of water and it would win, and probably the district Schiff's going for.
Well, I can dream. The idea of having Schiff as one of the state senators is just like, ooh. But anyway,
Just remember, let's just call it MAGA, has fundamentally changed the Republican Party drastically.
Yeah.
I would posit very drastically because I've seen a lot of center, both left and right of center people jumping on board to the MAGA side of things because it isn't your dad's or your grandfather's Republicans anymore. Sure, some of those names are still around, but they're kind of, sitting in the corner with their tail tucked between their legs because Trump and MAGA have a lot of power.
I've lived through a bunch of these so-called revolutions that fundamentally changed the Republican Party. I can remember a bunch of them. There was, like the moral majority back in the day, and then there's the Reagan Revolution. That brought a lot of people on board. I've seen the Republicans be driven to the brink of extinction only to come back a few years later because power corrupts absolutely. And then there was the Tea Party, which was that weird astroturfed thing that Karl Rove sort of put together, allegedly. Yeah. And now we're here with MAGA. And, these things just kind of come and go. I mean, it's a populist movement, and I'm not sure what kind of legs a populist movement tends to have if you look at the history books and people's limited attention spans. I don't think this is going to fundamentally change it forever.
Real populist movements can have legs. They can move political process.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a sincere populist movement.
Set up until they start building halls like the Grange Hall.
Right, exactly.
Until you start buying real estate, MAGA real estate. I don't know how serious I am about your longevity.
Yeah, this is just talk to me.
But for this election, it's definitely
not a populist
important.
Movement at all.
Yeah, for this election, it's definitely important. But
the Emerson poll wasn't even 1,000 fucking people. Fuck off, Emerson.
Yeah, screw you people, lazy bastards. So here's a state that's not California.
You never called anybody. Fuck you.
Massachusetts passed a millionaire's tax. Now the revenue is paying for free public school lunches. And won't you think of the children? Doesn't this sound fantastic? So they raised...
How long has it been in practice?
Bear with me. We're going to get there. A 4% tax on the state's wealthiest residents will account for $1 billion of the state's $56 billion budget. A portion of these funds will be used to provide all public school students with free weekly meals, according to State House News Service.
Oh, so they haven't done it yet. They're
doing it. They've collected it this year. The new tax, which was approved by voters last year, went into effect in 2023, applies to Massachusetts residents with incomes over $1 million. Those greedy bastards. The new tax adds an extra 4% on earnings above that threshold, making the state's income tax one of the highest in the United States.
Ugh.
Yeah, pretty good when the Californians going, I don't want a piece of that. That sounds pretty bad. And that sounds pretty great because who doesn't want kids to get free school lunches? However,
Massachusetts put a new 4% surtax on high household incomes exceeding $1
this is the accounting podcast. Gives you an idea of what an interesting person I am.
million annually. So that's for the high earners, right? And the Massachusetts Society of Certified Public Accountants is now saying that 90% of high-income clients are contemplating leaving the state, with New Hampshire, Florida, and Texas being the top destinations.
Yep.
Now, Massachusetts has collected an extra $1.84 billion in the first 9 months of 2024, and they project that annual collections could surpass $2 billion. But that's all going to be offset if these high-income people decide to relocate. And then the tax goes away because their income goes away and goes to another state.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know how much credence we should give to contemplating, but here's an accountant saying this is what professional people like myself are seeing. This is probably about as good a source of information as we can get. It sounds like a formula for disaster because 4% extra on everything over $1 million in income, it's kind of a lot.
Well, it's also like, what do they categorize as income? Do they mean just
They mean earned
salary?
income. They mean taxable income as opposed to in the tax sense.
And people will start to hide it more if they want to stay in Massachusetts.
Oh, I'm sure they're hiding everything they can.
No, they mean earned and unearned income, Harry. I guarantee you that passive income is included. Like if you have a bond fund,
right?
Paying you interest, you got to pay the 4% on that too.
No, I don't. But not unrealized gains, right?
Unrealized gains. No, they haven't gone to that.
We're talking about just taxable income. Yes, of course, not just
they
earned
want
income.
To do that some places, but
they do. That's a conversation for a different time. But I mean, an extra 4% for all the rich people, that's like a lot of money.
Yeah, look, the maximum tax rate, the state tax rate in Massachusetts, the highest tax rate you can get into is 5%. For millionaires, basically, they're saying we're almost going to double your tax rate. Okay, and we're going to take 9% of the money that you earned. Now and not only that, you don't get to deduct that from your federal income tax. I don't believe.
Oh, you're gone, Scap.
Am I back yet?
You're back. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Having a little battle with my Wi-Fi. Anyway, so you have an effective rate of whatever the maximum, federal tax. I forget what the maximum FITW is right now. Plus 9%. Are you kidding me? That's almost enough to. That's really going to put a crimp in some people's earnings. And what happens is it really begins to slow down the money moves. People spend money more wisely than the government with respect to the economy. They spend it more rationally than the government. There's a lot of reasons for that. I'm not going to bother to go into why it is. Just accept that it's true, because it is. Trust me. We have an entire economy that is based on that principle, and the velocity of the money in the economy will decrease the more you increase taxes. That is an economic principle. It's tried and true, and this is exactly what's going to happen. You turn down, you pour molasses and sand into the gears of the economy, and it still kind of moves and creaks along, but it's harder and harder, and there's less work done, and it's less efficient. God, everything just suffers, and all you have to do is not increase taxes, for God's sake. But the politicians are so lazy, they will not retrench. They will not put together real programs to go in and say, how can we do this more efficiently? How can we do this? All they're worried about is pleasing the people who give them money, making sure that they return the phone calls, kiss the asses, and stroke the bottoms of everybody they need to stroke so that they get their money so they can continue their lifestyle. That's all they care about. Most of them care nothing about leading this country. You can take that to the bank, by the way.
No, that's definitely true. But it's getting sad in here. We need to stop being sad. How can we stop being sad?
Sorry. Well,
no, you're not. No, I'm the one that filled out the spreadsheet. It's not your fault.
Put me on an ice flow.
Okay. No. Okay, let's get the sadness out of the way. Here's something even more terrible. Okay. Just stop. How do I make this go away? Okay.
Well, $49. It can all be yours.
Okay. Well, this wasn't here earlier. Everything's going fantastic. Okay. So the U.S. drinking age law could be a model for fixing the housing crisis. What they're proposing in a Business Insider article is that if states don't build enough low-income housing and just basically meet the housing goals from the federal government, we just take away their highway funds. Simple as.
Oh, you can fucking hell for all if you do that shit.
What a terrible idea. I mean, I wasn't really, as much as I do not like drunk drivers, and don't approve of drunk driving. I know that's a bold stance to take. But the idea that you can just dangle all those highway funds over somebody and make them do whatever you want to do, I find kind of disgusting. You take all this money from the states and then you give them back some of it, but only if they do what you tell them to do. Not much of a 10th Amendment at that point. Sorry, I guess there's really not much room for conversation on this topic, but
no, yeah.
I mean,
that
is a terrible, terrible plan. What were you going to say, Serenity?
Well, the thing is like it's. How do I say this? It was like I said this a long time ago. Houses are too big. People want too many amenities right off the gate from wanting the houses. The expertise needed to build the houses is getting too small because nobody wants to do the trade work because trade work is hard. And as someone who has done not exact trade work, but has done tangentially related to it because I worked in a factory, trade work, it's not fun. It pays really well, but it's not fun. the issue is that houses need to get smaller. People need to understand that you're not going like when you go back to the model house thing, where it was like you bought a kit house, you bought a small piece of property, you built the kit house yourself, and you go from there. But everybody wants granite countertops, giant houses with more than 3 bedrooms. They want it to be 2,100 square feet. They want to live close to the major city, even though I don't know why, and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, but now with so many places doing work from home, you really don't need to do that.
No, I was saying word like I'm agreeing with.
I
As
thought
in
you said
word to your
work.
mama.
I thought you said work. Get the
Yeah.
K.
Word up,
But-
homegirl.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the issue, is that nobody wants to live where it's more affordable, because they all live in this delusion of like, I can go to Los Angeles or New York or Chicago, and
Yeah.
it'll be like Sex in the City or whatever the male Entourage, the male equivalent of it.
Wait, is Entourage is the male equivalent of Sex and the City?
That's the closest I can think of, because I
Is
can't
it?
think of a male.
I've never
version.
seen Entourage. That's that Jeremy Piven thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a lot. That was basically guys in their 20s. One of them got famous, and the rest of it was about the hangers-on who got to feed off of his fame and his money. But anyway, that's the thing of like, nobody wants to actually do it. No one wants, like, I as someone who lived in a studio apartment for someone like me who's a mole person who doesn't like to go out is fine. Most people, that will destroy your mental health unless you are built for it. And even though I'm built for it, I still don't like it. Because I don't like being around a bunch of cars. I don't like being around a lot of light pollution or sound pollution. And it's just, people want their cake and eat it too, and that's the problem.
Oh, of course they do. Well, I'm going to do something that's going to blow Assassin's mind, because he always accuses me of not watching the chat. But I just saw him post a comment. No, houses do not need to get smaller. Americans have a right to what they pay for. Well, I mean, it's certainly true. But people like to make the comparison and say, okay, well, but your grandparents' parents, right, could buy a house for, $5 and a loaf of bread, and he's sweeping
but it
out
was like
store.
900 square feet.
Yeah,
compared to
houses have
2100.
actually become really
Way too
huge compared to what those people were able to buy. And a lot of times, if you watch those really annoying house hunter shows, right, you see some 26-year-old woman who wants her forever house in her first house with her new husband. And of course, he's always some idiot who collects tennis shoes or something. They've always got something wrong with the dude on these shows, but that's another story. So she wants her forever house, like initially, like that's the house they want. And you see them moving into like these 3,000 square foot houses with all this stuff. And it's like, you do not need all of that. In terms of getting what you pay for, if you've got 10, 14 something million people coming in, that's another 14 million people you have to house. So they're putting supply pressure on the housing markets, which drives the prices up. And then, of course, all the local places have all their rules about how houses have to be built, because you want them to be safe and not burst into flames. There's a lot of things that drive the prices of houses up. And I don't know about, you said something about people don't like working in the trades.
A lot of people, it started to go away, but especially when I was, people who are around like functional and I's age, there was the stigma, unless you come from a blue collar state like I do. If you didn't come from a blue collar state, there's a stigma to blue collar workers of being dirty and nasty, and you don't get paid very much, and you're uneducated because you didn't go to college.
Yeah, they wanted the cushy office job.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, most of the people I've met who do that kind of stuff, and times when I've worked in and near things like that, I've noticed that a lot of these people, they may not make as much money, but they're pretty damn happy. And a lot of times they'll
Agreed.
choose that type of work, not just because it's their only option or something. It's because they genuinely enjoy making something with their hands. Maybe I'm just being a big romantic. And I'm a terrible, terrible romantic. But I still think about like working in the hospitality industry, and I made way less money, and I was really happy.
Yeah.
It was pretty great.
Well, it's just like, and the thing is, Assassin, I understand where you're coming from, but the issue is like, as with everything, and I'm not saying the government needs to get involved, but people need to take a fucking step back and realize not everyone can live in a 3,000 square foot house. Most of people don't need that. Unless you are the Duggars, and I'm using it, and we all know how bad that went. But like, unless you're the Duggars and you have 12 fucking children, you don't need more than 2,000 square feet.
Yeah.
You don't.
I mean,
Most
Jenna
entrepreneurs-
has a bajillion children, but they make it work.
Yeah.
Because first
you
of all, they
need-
love those kids and they give them good discipline, but
Yeah.
they get
Well-
creative with how they make this work. Because those kids are lucky; they're like the luckiest kids in the world. That
Yeah.
Jenna and her husband and her family take them in.
Like
Yeah.
my stepdaughter's kids.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's like most people, the average person, whether they are single or with another partner, the average person needs about 900 to 1,200 square foot house. Average. That is what most people need. And you can get that in a model home for $60,000, pay another $10,000 to $20,000 for a piece of property that isn't too far from the city. You're done. Most people don't want to do that because they want all this other horse shit they don't need. You don't need you don't need granite everywhere. You don't need the fake veneer ugly, like you don't need it. Like model homes are amazing. I have family and friends who live in model homes, aka trailers, and they're beautiful.
But if the manufactured home identifies as a non-manufactured home, then everything's fine, right?
Oh, it's the funniest fucking thing because they're down the road that's down from me. There's 2 manufactured homes down that road, and they were both kind of for sale around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew they were manufactured homes because I remember when they were put in. But you had because West Virginia doesn't have a lot of out-of-staters coming in, but we have a few, and these out-of-staters like, it's so nice a house, and I'm just sitting there going, that's a manufactured home. That's not. What
Yeah,
you think
better
it
up your
is."
tornado insurance because God hates mobile homes.
They do, but we're so mountainous and valley around here that very rarely do tornadoes form. So
But
there's a-
let me back this up because I think I actually agree with everybody as long as we frame this correctly.
yeah,
Rent is evil. Okay,
Yes.
rent is just evil, and one of the problems is we've driven this wedge between men and women, and this is a serious societal problem. And so you don't see as many people, men and women, forming families and going out and together getting themselves into a house, right? You don't see people being as affluent as they should be, helping their kids put together the down payment. We really need starter houses, and in some cases, really small starter houses, just to get somebody off the rent treadmill so they can actually build up the equity to buy that bigger house later. I think people should be allowed to have big, spacious America fuck yeah houses. I'm all in favor of that. However,
if they can actually afford it.
but you have to start with something smaller because as you work your way up the wage ladder and your life changes, your needs for housing change. One thing I would like to see is to reduce the amount of money it costs to do property exchanges. I think realtors take way too much money off the top on these exchanges. And if people are going to get into like starter houses and then maybe 5 years later move into something a little bigger and then maybe a family house not long after that, we don't want them losing 6% of the value of their real estate every time they switch.
Well,
That's just terrible.
When the taxes and everything have driven home prices, but it's the realtors who've driven the home prices.
Yeah.
Like, because they want a bigger commission, so they try to get people to list higher so then they can, and that's what they do, and that's the problem. I think realtors need to, how do I put this? I don't think realtors should earn a commission. I think it should be a paid, strictly singular paid job, and you should make a certain amount, and you're just there to help the process with the legalities of it. You need to be like an accountant. You need to be there for the legalities of it and to be a protector, but you don't need to be making a ridiculous amount of commission.
Or a guy who builds a fence or puts in an AC. They don't bid on the individual part or on the labor. They say, here's the cost for the job.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Assassin, what he means by rent is evil is rent really works against you to build wealth. You can do it if you live below your means, but that usually means you're not in a good place.
Well,
and
I think
it's
the
very
biggest-
easy for it to change too. It's massively easy.
The biggest problem with that is they've eliminated, or well, they never allowed for a pathway from renting to housing to owned housing because when you pay rent, it doesn't affect your credit score, and it should.
That's starting to change down here a little bit because there's some things that are trying to.
Who says
push
rent doesn't
through.
affect your credit score? I believe that is untrue.
That's absolutely not true.
Not in the
Yeah,
United
it's
States, it
not.
isn't.
Maybe
Yeah.
in Canada, but down here.
Okay.
In fact, what they
Here.
will do on some rental things is actually ask you if you want them to report this to the credit agencies
Yeah.
or not. You get the option because it's a privacy thing, right? You don't just go blabbing to whatever. But if you want that to be considered to build your credit, many renters, obviously not all, will, if they're like a larger organization, will report that payment to the credit agencies if you ask them to do it.
Yep. And Assassin, I understand where you're coming from, but you're not the norm, sweetheart. I understand you don't want a house, and I get that, and that's completely respectable. We're talking about people who want to settle down and stay in an area. You are not that person.
No. Renting is fine because that's essentially you're just paying. What you're doing is you're paying more money in exchange for having the freedom to do things, on your own schedule. That's like if you're going to get a lease versus a month-to-month thing, you pay less for the lease than the month-to-month. Anytime you're talking about risk and freedom, it affects the price of things, right?
Yeah.
That's just how things get evaluated. Risk and freedom. Those are the two knobs that you adjust.
And the thing is, as with everything in a true capitalistic society, there needs to be a plethora of choice. Right now, it's you rent, you can maybe buy a condo or a townhouse, which I like the condo or townhouse model as a starter home, air quotes. I think that would work better if people did that more, but most people don't do that more. But anyway, and then you get a house. Some people don't want to do that. Some people like to rent for the rest of their lives, and that's fine. It's just there's people who like to have, and a lot of people are not lucky like I am. Like this is going to be the house I'm in is going to be, when it comes to me, a third generation home that has been owned by the same family, which is my family. And I'm very lucky with that, and I'm very happy with being lucky with that because I've seen the house prices out in my area, and even I'm a little high. But that's the thing is like you need to have the right of choice, of opportunity. Everyone needs to have the right of opportunity.
Yeah. And actually, the fact that Assassin pointed out, there are times when rent makes sense. Yeah, you're right. I'm guilty of hyperbole. But when I say that rent is evil, it's just that they offer it to you because they make more money. That's why they do it. I mean, it's not some selfless thing where you pay less than if you were to buy the house. Over time, you're essentially buying the house for somebody else. And I would rather see people be able to build equity than just pay month to month. But you understand what I'm trying to say. But on the subject of landlords, okay, I was looking at some stuff because I was bored, and I wanted to look at the thing that was on Funny or Die where Jewel, the singer, put on some makeup and then went to a karaoke bar and started singing Jewel songs. It's hilarious. It's one of my favorites because I wanted to be cheered up. And then it went forward to another video. So we all remember The Landlord, right?
So it says here,
God,
Madonna's.
I love that,
You need to relax.
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
I got my money, bitch.
Yes, okay. So that's what Funny or Die used to be. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're an asshole. I want my money, bitch. I got to get my drink on. It used to be hilarious. Or that thing with Jewel. So I finished the thing with Jewel, and then it went on to the next video, and I was confronted with this. This is actually supposed to be Funny or Die.
Hi, I'm Anastasia here with Funny or Die and the lovely Slay, amazing representative, Malcolm Kenyatta.
God, she can't even say words.
Everybody clap.
It's some political thing where she's going to cup this guy's balls for 2 minutes and 30 seconds and talk about like politics. And I feel this is the same way I felt when a music channel I was looking at got hacked, and then they put up 5 streams simultaneously of AI Elon Musk selling crypto. Because I feel like this is so far off brand. Did all the adults just leave Funny or Die and then leave it to a bunch of insufferable young people to just run the channel into the ground? Evidently.
Well, apparently, Funny or Die, the actual original website was, it's owned by Vox Media. That's why, because it was retired in 2018.
Yeah,
So it's technically owned by it's owned by Vox Media now.
well, here's how you can see a dead channel: 3.72 million subscribers, just because we haven't gotten around to leaving. 2.3K views.
Well, I mean, it's what happened with
Wow.
Music Factory too.
How do you have 3.7 million subscribers and get 2,300 views?
A lot of accounts.
This channel is so dead. Dead.
Well, it's like Geek and Sundry's that way too. Geek and Sundry died a horrible, horrible death. but it's still technically up, but they can't get anywhere past about 20,000 views.
Yeah.
It's just they get sold off to other companies and people like that who are desperate to have jobs in California instead of actually doing real work
Yeah.
because they want to be an actor.
And there are no comments on this video, which is interesting because I left one. I was very polite.
Was it blocked or was it just won't show up?
It looks like they've just been, I don't see any comments on this video. It's like it just sort of stopped and I don't understand what's going on. It's like there are no comments on this video. But it makes me sad to see stuff like this just sort of die. I was really shocked. I was like, is this something that tricked me? And then it's like, no, this is actually the Funny or Die channel. And I think I titled this Funny Died. That's my title for this section.
Did.
Okay. Anyway, enough of that.
Oh, there's comments. I can see them.
Oh, good.
There's only 14 comments.
Oh, good.
Millions of subscribers. 14.
Oh, there's your comment, Harry. I see it.
Oh, good. Good. Excellent.
I will like it.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Skep, not all people who join the army are really sharp. Okay.
That's a fair statement.
It's a fair statement. I mean, you can come in, what is it, 4F or whatever the designation is? I know they changed them.
4F is not physically qualified, which means you have a physical exception. That was the old draft card classification.
Oh, right. Okay.
That was the old draft,
Yeah.
deference.
Military family's moving truck stolen in Oakland. A San Francisco Bay Area military family lost all of their possessions after a thief stole the family's moving truck while it was parked in Oakland on Monday. Desmond Melton and his wife were preparing to move with their 3-month-old baby and 4-year-old son from California to a military station in Florida. Their entire life was taken from them when their 26-foot budget truck filled with their belongings was stolen while parked for just 6 hours. As I can't even read past that. I mean, okay. First of all, this is terrible, right? Oakland is a shithole, and this should never happen to them. But do you think that any of us here, if we had a truck full of stuff in Oakland, would walk away from it for 6 hours for any reason? I know I wouldn't. I don't think any of you would. This is not the brightest family.
No.
I'm going to put all my valuables over here on this thing with wheels.
Where was he stationed that he was living in Oakland? He must have been down at the Army base. At the Oakland Army base at the supply depot, which by the pier, that's an Army activity. We used to have about 100 people tops, probably more like 50 people. It's not a big Army activity there. It's mostly Navy. Huh.
Yeah.
Where would he be working?
But simultaneously, it's like we really need to do better job of training some of these guys to have some common sense. And Oakland sucks.
One of the things that you do as a young officer when you go out into, lead men in the Army and Navy, Air Force, is you are a little bit of dad, especially to the junior enlisted. And so you have to be able to talk to them and counsel them about common sense things. And let me tell you, in the course of 5 years in the military, I counseled young men about every single part of their lives, from venereal disease to whether or not to buy a house. I handled every kind of problem you can think of. And that's something that has been lost, I believe. I was talking with a guy I was in with. He stayed in, did a 30-year spot in the Navy. And we were talking about this exact thing. And he said that those traditions have gone by the wayside. You can't even talk to your enlisted folks about that stuff now. You get in trouble.
Yeah. And
when I was in, some of these guys were just off the farm, man. They did not know how to live. Their idea was enlisted men in the Navy always got paid in cash back then. Every single enlisted man got paid in cash. the only ones with direct deposits were a few of the chiefs. And the officers had direct deposit. All the men wanted their money in cash, and you had when they got a $100 bill for 2 weeks work, which was pretty typical payback when I was in for like a seaman apprentice. Man, $100 looked like $1 million to them, and they would just go out and fritter it away. And there are plenty of guys just outside the gate of a Navy base to help you fritter it away. And whether it be blown on, just being ripped off, or blown on drugs or whatever, you had to sit those guys down and tell them how to be successful people. And that was a lot of that's a lot of what division officers used to do. And I think that's sad. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, how do you go on?
Well, we do have a few things I would like to cover, so I'm gonna speed things up a little bit. I mean, it's good. You didn't do anything wrong. This is me. I'm the one who's handling the metronome here. So, surprisingly, as stupid as California is, after about 10 or so years of having people rob us blind for anything under $950, we've decided, hey, maybe we should not let them do that anymore. So Proposition 36 is looking like it's probably going to pass. What that measure does is it essentially says it will increase penalties for low-level thefts and drug possession, and it has overwhelming support. The poll released Wednesday evening shows that 71% of voters are likely to vote yes on this initiative.
Wow.
71%. Now, California Republicans support it by 85%, and 63% of Democrats and 73% of independents said they would also vote yes. Yeah, that's a bit of a snapback. It's like, that was a fun experiment. How about we just give jail a chance? That's my slogan.
37% of Democrats are not convinced. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and simultaneously, we've also got Proposition 32, which is a minimum wage increase, because they're still under this assumption that if we just force them to pay a living wage, in air quotes, that everything will just be fine.
The problem is this is only part of the answer. The real answer is to control prices by setting price controls. Make it against the law to charge too much for things, and that'll really solve your problem.
I really hope this one doesn't go through, but I suspect it probably will, because most people will just say, well, I couldn't live on $16 an hour, so they're going to kick it up to $18 an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, moving on. So
close down those small businesses.
I actually found a YouTube channel which I think might be pretty good. It's an independent journalist guy. You know how Tim Pool used to not suck?
Yeah.
And how sometimes people would give good comments. This guy
2018
looks like he actually has some potential. Shut up. The channel is Johnny Harris, 2 N's Y's, independent journalist making videos that help you understand the world. And his videos and his analysis on stuff is actually pretty interesting sometimes. I'm not saying that you should believe everything this man says, but I'm saying this is a channel that seems to be worth a look.
Johnny Harris.
And he actually does a pretty good job of explaining stuff and goes into some amount of depth. He's sort of everything I wish Tim Pool still was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not impressed with Tim Pool.
Nope.
Little Timmy Tim.
I've met Tim in person. I've talked to him in person. He's an interesting guy. He's a very nice guy. God, easygoing, nice guy. But I think he's doing some dumb things on his channel right now.
So Serenity, is she gone? Okay, she must have stepped away. We'll come back to her because I don't want to do this next thing if she's not here. Functional, are you with me? Have we lost everybody except for Skep?
Yeah.
Serenity got knocked out. Okay. Maybe she'll be back. Well, I put her back in, but her microphone is turned off. She says, be right back, doggies. Okay, so let's talk about a music thing then. Remember there was what was it? That private space initiative thing that went up. Remember the one I was talking about? It was it had a really stupid name.
The private space initiative there've been a couple. The Mars settlement thing.
No. There was a private mission where they did a spacewalk. Polaris Dawn.
Well, Polaris Dawn.
Okay, so Polaris Dawn took place, and we talked about it previously, but what I didn't realize was that one of the astronauts who went up there is a trained violinist. Damn good one, actually. Yeah. And she took her violin up, and they actually did a collaborative performance with people on the ground. And they're saying that it's like the first violin solo from outer space. Now, I know we had that Canadian guy who played his guitar.
Yep.
But we haven't had a lot of music from space, as opposed to music from the hearts of space.
She's a pretty good little old violinist, too.
Yeah, she is pretty good. Let's just kill that and go here. And it basically doing some of the stuff Ray's theme from John Williams. And they're basically working with people around the world and performing this performance of this John Williams stuff from space. I think this is fantastic.
She's got space hair.
She's got space hair, but playing a violin in zero G is probably also kind of hard. But this is a great little bit of outreach because it's telling people about space. It's getting people interested in music. It's got a nice tie-in with Star Wars. I like this because it's really wholesome. But I think it's a great educational opportunity for people.
That's absolutely awesome. Yes, I would agree with you. It's got all the bells and whistles. I love that it was showy and interesting and really shows off these people's talents. And they are talented people. They may not, have much to do with flying the spaceship anymore. They don't have those kinds of talents.
Scap, you lost your
Not
microphone.
turned into a mission specialist.
Okay.
Yeah, that everybody has turned into a mission specialist, and as a result, that it's actually better. It's better to have a more automated control of the spacecraft because then you can load the humans with more capabilities of working up there, of actually working instead of having to worry about getting the machine up there and getting it back home.
You're paying a lot of money to send people up there. You want to have them spend their time wisely.
Exactly.
So the thing that confuses me is the same thought that I had during the pandemic when you did these collaborative music performances that were ostensibly live, right? Where you had people at different locations. Now, most of the conferencing software that people are using, like Zoom and stuff like that, really not that great in terms of latency and codecs and stuff like that. It would seem to me that it would be very hard to do a performance like this, given that there's like 50 to 100 milliseconds difference between the different people. And I mean, they had people in different countries. So like
I was
Sweden
myself. I was sort of hoping you would explain that.
Well, you're looking at like 200 milliseconds to Sweden, something on that order.
Right.
And 200 milliseconds is a fifth of a second, which is more than enough to screw up a music performance.
Oh, Lord, yes.
All I can think is that somebody, before they streamed it out to YouTube, factored in the latency of these things and essentially re-stitched it and multiplexed it together with the appropriate adjustments.
Oh, wow.
To have it all come out with everything in the appropriate sync. Not easy. Or they just didn't do it live and they fixed it in post.
Yeah, that's actually what I ended up thinking was I couldn't figure out how they could do it. And I thought, okay, this was the thing where they played their performances, but then they mixed the individual tracks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously somewhere
they
on the
might
ground
have even played together, but what was recorded there is not what went into being mixed on the original tracks. What they were doing was they were playing together, but that's not like an air mixed vinyl. This is a thing where everybody played their part and then somebody went back and mixed it in so it would sound correct.
But I'll bet they're mixing it live, and I wouldn't be surprised if if they've come up with some technique for fixing this stuff, and then when they put the resulting stream out, everything is synchronized the way it should be. In classical, you might not notice it as much, but in jazz, this would be absolutely deadly. And I've seen jazz performances where they do this sort of stuff. But
Harry,
yeah,
you
it
have
makes
to
my
be
head
able to
hurt
hear
thinking
the
about
other-
this.
You have to hear the other music, the other people playing the music in real time. You have to hear it at the same time. That's what I can't get past. How did they perform together?
Well, that's what I mean. In jazz, you
couldn't
definitely
have.
do that. Now, with the classical stuff, they might have been able to get away with it with enough practice. Maybe. There's a video with what is it? The two guys who play violin. The two friends, the two Asian dudes. God, what is it? Can't remember the name of that channel, but they were evaluating how good conductors were. They were looking at conductors, so they essentially would look at a performance of, I think it was Beethoven's Fifth, first movement, and they would look at it with the sound off, and then just based on just what they saw the conductor doing, they would play, and then later they'd go back and see how well they did against the orchestra to see. And so they were actually surprisingly good if there was good instruction.
Yeah.
And they said, you know, with enough
Maybe they
with
could.
practice, you definitely can get it right. But jazz would disintegrate under this.
jazz
You just
No way.
totally not work.
Yeah, I agree.
TG Master Sync is flowing. Okay. All right. Let's see. Shall we go on to literally anything else? We still don't have Functional and Serenity. I think we killed them both off. Oh well, that's very sad. I found another thing which I think is pretty cool. It's called Lost Landscapes. City and Bay in Motion. And so they did more of this thing, which I really love, where they go back and find vintage film. And this is a bunch of stuff from San Francisco, all through different periods of time. It's a fantastic restoration of all this old video that's on the Long Now Foundation.
Lost Landscapes.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'm going to give everybody a link to this. It's pretty cool. And honestly, if it doesn't have to be San Francisco, if you know of like cool restored old films from the 20th century and people want to send me a link, I'm more than interested in look at them because I'm a big history buff. And I think these restored movies are pretty amazing. We just do not have enough of this stuff. Too much of this stuff is just like gone. I just don't feel like we really have a good feeling for what's happening. And then when the people who live during these times die, we're just going to be guessing. I want to see as much of this stuff preserved as possible.
I heard that guy is cutting off one of the shore installation cannon barrels up there by Fort, what is it, Fort Alexander?
I don't know. Is this if this is
Francisco?
the Marin Headlands one, or if this is the one down by Fort Funston?
Oh, you think this is Funston?
No, I think it's probably up in Marin.
Yeah, I think this is
Progressive Party. Yes, screw those people. No, but this is actually really cool. These old videos are really pretty interesting. So link is in the chat. All right, let's kill that and move on to the next thing. Are we still missing people? Oh, Functional's back.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Functional.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrities.
Oh God.
I think they're all kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Chris Rock, Bryan Cranston, and Ben Stiller praise Kamala Harris. This is the whole thing with like Oprah, right? Why should I care what celebrities think about any of this stuff? I think it's pretty terrible.
Shouldn't.
I just wish they would just sort of shut up. So like Ben Stiller was raised in a Hollywood family, right? I mean, he did not have like a difficult childhood. His parents were both pretty successful. I don't know about Bryan Cranston. I mean, Chris Rock has done a hell of a lot of work. I'm willing to accept that maybe he's a little more in touch with the people, but I don't think Ben Stiller's in a position to really decide what the people who grow our food should think or do or who they should vote for. I have a real problem with this celebrity endorsement thing. I was recommending a podcast, I think last week it was the Fly on the Wall podcast with Dana Carvey and David Spade, and they actually tackled this topic, which I thought was pretty great. This is one of the things they covered in their episode from yesterday.
Okay.
And they just being a couple funny comedians, they just tear into this whole idea. Like why in the hell should we be listening to these people? And hearing two celebrities talk about why we should be listening to these people is just funny as hell to me. I have to say, this is probably my new favorite thing. I really do enjoy this podcast because these guys have fantastic chemistry. So
I didn't know they were doing one.
Yeah. Well,
They're pretty good friends, aren't they?
It sure seems that way.
Yeah. Everything I've read about them, everything I've heard Dana Carvey say about David Spade is that they're pretty good friends.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is actually a really good podcast, and listening to two celebrities tear into them is way more fun than listening to me do it. So I'm going to recommend again that people actually check this out. I'll put the link in the chat because this is actually a pretty good podcast and totally worth a watch. I just find these guys to be really entertaining. We got Serenity back yet? No. Okay. So let's just set that aside. So the John Williams Star Wars thing performed in space, that was cool. Those are cool. Functional.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a really stupid title for an article. Ditching the drive-thru, the unexpected reason many are passing on fast food. I'll give you one shot. Why do you think fast food sales are down?
Price.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? The answer is price. They said that 50% of people that they essentially talked to said the answer was price. And a number of people tried to say, well, I'm reducing my fast food consumption, yada, yada, yada. But the reason they give is price more often than not. But there was one other reason that came up, which I think is kind of interesting, which is there's a shift. A lot of people who were eating fast food have switched to those meal kit things.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was thinking about this. I'm thinking, do you think that the pandemic, people staying home, trying to keep themselves busy, but just sort of not getting used to going out and getting, do you think the pandemic played any role in this, or do you think it's just an organic thing? The rise of meal kits would have happened anyway.
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I think a little bit of both. I think that they probably would have still made inroads, probably not as popular as they are now. But I think that
because they're not cheap, but they're cheaper than fast food. They're better value, certainly.
And most tend to be better for you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just both. I definitely think that there's a case to be made for them, especially for people who are either incapable or just don't have the time to be constantly cooking. But then there's the case to be made of maybe we should have just been teaching kids how to meal prep and do their taxes in school instead of the other 15 genders that don't actually exist.
Well, do you remember the rent versus buy thing that we were conversation we were having a moment ago? I think it's the same sort of thing. It's like not everybody wants to put that kind of time in, and the meal kits are, they cost more, but it's a great way of sort of outsourcing a lot of the expertise. You don't have to learn a lot, and you don't have to do as much shopping. I mean, there's a lot of advantage. It's like buying a townhouse because you don't feel like doing gardening.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think the pandemic really did these people a huge favor because people's habits changed. Rather, instead of going out to get food, it's like, well, I have to eat what's here. Well, this is a pain in the ass. Hey, this makes it easier. I think the pandemic is probably responsible for a big chunk of the growth of the meal kits. Not to mention that once the idea sort of became established and people are seeing this market, I think the quality and the variety of meal kits has also improved. And I think that may have a lot to do with what's going on. I stumbled across an ad for one today, literally today when I was prepping for the show. And it's 3 meals a day of healthy Japanese food. Really? Yeah, don't threaten me with a good time.
Healthy Japanese food.
Yeah.
I thought it was all healthy. But go ahead.
Doesn't have to be. But
I know.
I mean,
most of it is actually.
That sounds pretty great, but also I like having money too. So you and I are both going to do the meal planning thing. But I think a lot of people, these meal kits are compared to like eating fast food orders of magnitude better
Oh yeah.
for their pocketbook, and well, maybe not orders of magnitude better for their pocketbook, but certainly a lot better for their pocketbook and orders of magnitude better for their health.
But I mean, like the delivery services have been making huge inroads in our multi-billion-dollar industry now. So I'm not so sure of if it's actually making that much of a difference, because people are still ordering by magnitudes fast food to just their house.
Yeah. Well, in this article, the people avoiding fast food because of money, not at all surprising. The meal kit thing was the thing that really caught me off guard. Cooking from home or the more popular meal kit options said to have taken the place of quick, easy fast food meals. Yeah, I think it's worth keeping an eye on. If you had your choice between buying stock in a company that sells meal kits and buying stock in Wendy's or something, I don't know. I think I'd probably put my money on the meal kits today.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and it is sort of like cooking with training reels, right? They give you all the portions, everything there. They give you instructions on how to put it together. I've actually been trying to help a family member who's injured. This is a temporary thing. And I'm helping to manage some money and stuff. And I was going through this person's receipts, and I saw 2 people going to Taco Bell getting like 2 shitty burritos and 2 Mexican pizzas. And it was like $46.
Jesus Christ.
And I told the guy, I said, look, this is why I'm trying to help you manage your money, after you had a stroke. Because this is stupid. I don't feel like, I said,
It's damaging you on multiple levels.
You're on like government assistance, and I have more money to play with than you do, and I wouldn't do this. I consider this to be too expensive.
No, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You just don't get anything for your $46.
Yeah.
Well, you
first
get
of all,
hungry again 2 hours later.
Who's this friend you're
46
buying
hours.
food for? Because you're not in a position to be buying friend food. Second of all, why in the hell are you eating this crap? It's like you could go to an actual Mexican restaurant and get like a burrito that's just packed to the gills with stuff that's good. Okay, sorry, Assassin, I know you hate Mexican food. But the point being, you could eat real Mexican food instead of shitty fake Mexican food for way less money. And so I just can't wrap my head around it. I guess you have to have a stroke or two to have that kind of logic make sense.
I suppose so.
Man, never do anything for
It's kinda
anybody because it
weird.
just makes you sad. Right, Skep?
Yeah.
I'm finding this whole thing to be really frustrating. I'm trying to do the right thing and be a nice guy, but it's like I'm really not enjoying it.
It's not usually the way of prosperity.
All right, meal
Let's
kits.
finish last.
Let me push this aside and just move on to the next thing. I mean, unless there's more from you, Functional, because
No, I mean,
I was
it's
sort of targeting
pretty
you
tough.
on this one here.
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You can't be just wasting your money on this stuff.
Yeah.
And it is actually both a good and bad thing that it's become so expensive. Yes, it's forcing people to make the right decisions in some cases, but it's just not fair. Like Serenity was saying earlier in the show, I'm all for choices, having the choices. And if somebody wants to make poor choices, I want them to have that right. But I want us to also have a system that would educate some of these people to make the better choices.
That's true. I don't have a link to it, but I know there's this one guy who goes around to like donut shops and different places and looks at, does food reviews. But his favorite thing is to have like a little separate cup and show you how much sugar is in these things. There's a drink at Dunkin' Donuts right now, a coffee drink thing, that if you get the big one, it's 146 grams of sugar.
That's what I'm talking about.
Holy
That's
crap.
what I'm talking about right there.
They used to send in the Marines to seize that amount of sugar from a third world country. I mean, that's a lot of sugar. That's it for one thing. That's the same amount of sugar as 14 Dunkin' Donuts
14 Dunkin' Donuts. That's interesting.
in a drink. Jesus Christ. Okay. I mean, I'm not claiming that I'm like the perfect person and that I don't do stupid things. I mean, I certainly do, but I don't do that. So
At least you got that going for you, which is nice.
So here's something which I think I'm pretty confident you're going to like this, Functional, and I think Skep, I think you're going to like this too. There is a restaurant in the Bay Area. It's a burger place. They have 6 menu items. All of them are under $5.
Whoa,
it's a place near San Jose State University in San Jose, and all they sell are 6 basic items, burgers. You can buy a cheeseburger. You can buy a double cheeseburger. So a cheeseburger is $2.99. A double burger is $3.99. A double cheeseburger is $4.99. A 2-ounce smash burger is $2. It's pretty hard to find anything that looks like a meal for that amount of price. And apparently the lines are long. Like after any kind of game or something, you go to this place called Campus Burger, and people just love it. It's like, get rid of all the choices, get rid of almost all the frills. Yeah, you can get pickles and sauce and stuff like that, but it's just like, I'm hungry, give me food, give it to me quickly, and let me go on my way without, feeling like I've been violated.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I like it because it's a restaurant that it's like, this is our DNA, and we're going to stick to it, and we're not going to deviate one little bit. I like it when a restaurant knows what it is and then just does it without a lot of crap just glommed on. Yeah, just pick a thing and do it really well, and then that's
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Exactly. You don't have to do everything. In fact, that tends to work against you.
Yeah.
For various reasons.
Don't come here after a Spartan football game. It's a madhouse. Downtown San Jose after a football game is a madhouse just to begin with. There's a line of 50 to 60 people waiting outside. I'll bet there is. And good for them. It's like there's clearly a demand for like a no frills, good burger for a reasonable price. Because why not be that guy who goes like for your fraternity and goes and buys like 20 cheeseburgers in a bag and brings them all back and hands them out to your friends? Be that guy. That's the guy you want to be. People like that guy.
Mm.
And then it gets to be somebody else's turn. I like it. Anyway, 6 items, all under $5. There you go. This other article is stupid. I'm going to skip it. I cannot talk about John Fetterman until Serenity gets back.
Aw.
Okay. So, Skep.
Yes.
I've talked about rubber hose decryption before, where people start talking about how they're going to encrypt everything and then nobody will ever be able to break the encryption. And I just say, well, look, if somebody threatens to break your legs, you're going to just give them the password.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, a Florida gang led by somebody named Remy Ross St. Felix. It doesn't say where Remy Ross St. Felix is from, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess Haiti or someplace along those lines. Does that sound about right to you based on the name?
Yeah, if I was guessing, I would say he could come from Port-au-Prince.
I believe he's one of our esteemed guests
Yes.
or one of our newcomers. He and another person essentially staked out a family, 76-year-old couple, and they did a violent home invasion and threatened all sorts of terrible things that you can imagine and got the password for this guy's crypto accounts. And they stole a ton of money from this guy. It doesn't make any difference if you have really good encryption and a secure crypto wallet if people can still break into your house and threaten you until you give them the money.
That's why I answered the door with a gun in my hand.
Humans, exactly. Humans are always the weak link when it comes to security. Well, they certainly are now. There's no point in having an elaborate security plan if you can just threaten somebody's family and then they'll let you in. And when people talk about security, I just don't think they think about it. They don't think they think about it with like a complete picture. It's nasty and it's terrible. So as we're letting people in, we certainly don't want to let people in that do things like this, right? And we don't want our newcomers just causing these kinds of crimes, because this is how they make a living, is going around breaking into people's houses. They did finally catch these assholes and throw them in jail, but not for nearly as long as we would have liked. They're giving these guys like 20 years. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, this is in Florida?
Yeah. See,
Wow.
After his day of surveillance on April 11th, St. Felix and his partner Elmer Castro drove to a local Walmart and purchased their work uniforms, sunglasses, a clipboard, reflective vests, and khaki pants. Back at their hotel, St. Felix snapped a photo of himself in this getup, which looked close enough to a construction worker for his purposes. The next morning, bad things happened. This just really just makes me sick. It really does. Just absolutely terrible that this kind of stuff goes on.
Mm-hmm.
The only point I'm trying to make is that if you have security and you care about something, you need to not get sloppy and just assume that a strong password is going to save you.
No.
You have to actually worry about your physical security too. And you have to worry about vulnerabilities caused by other people around you that you care about being compromised. For one thing, don't let people know you got a bunch of crypto money. How did they even know to look for it? I mean, somebody probably talked or they pulled some information off of social media.
That's what it was. It came off social media.
Keep your goddamn mouth shut. Just for the record, I don't have any crypto. None of it.
I don't mess with it.
I don't play with that crap.
No, I don't have that much money to where I just want to watch it burn.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So rubber hose cryptography. Where are we? Oh, we're actually coming up on 10 o'clock, aren't we? Okay.
Well, that's an interesting way to decrypt a password is just beat the shit out of the password.
Yeah, just
holder.
beat the shit out of the password holder. Done and done. Okay, well, even if Serenity isn't back, I do want to talk about Senator John Fetterman. He has really turned out to be way better than I would have expected.
Oh, isn't that surprising?
Yeah.
How intelligent he's starting to sound.
Well, he made this comment. No idea why New York Times would platform this propaganda from a terrorist. Okay, that's liberal speak. We don't complain about people being platformed typically. Hamas is no different than World War II N-words, and I fully support Israel's commitment to neutralize them. Kick ass. Thanks, John Fetterman. That's pretty good.
How is Hamas different from the World War II Yazis?
They're no different. Well, I think he's sort of making an equivalence in terms of violence and terribleness and lack of everything.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, well, how is this going over in his home state? Is this John Fetterman, Pennsylvania elected? Some of the people who voted for him are really not happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now he's staking out positions that give some of his staunchest supporters crying foul. What gives? I'm on the phone one recent afternoon having what was a civilized conversation with a longtime Pennsylvania political insider when he suddenly starts screaming, "Do you have to be such an asshole about everything?" He bellows, his voice so loud that I'm tempted to hold the phone away from my ear. I mean, do you have to spike the ball all the time? I should note, before we go further, that the person being called names in this exchange is not, thanks goodness me, it's the person I've asked about, the junior senator from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Former lieutenant governor, mayor, hoodie wearer, yada, yada, yada. Carhartt clothes are great, by the way. I have a lot of them. I'm wearing some Carhartt pants right now because they're awesome. Yeah, Fetterman has turned into somebody that I like a lot more than Mehmet Oz. Did you know Mehmet Oz has dual citizenship?
Where is he also a citizen?
I don't know. I don't remember, and I sort of don't. And I sort of don't care because I don't think you should be an elected official in the U.S. and have dual citizenship. Full stop. I don't know how you can take an oath to uphold the Constitution when you have conflicting interests with citizenship in another country.
He's Turkish. He's Turkish.
I don't even care if it's Canadian.
Duh.
I don't care if it's Canadian. I don't care if it's Israeli. If you want to be in the U.S. government as an elected official, you should not have dual citizenship. How can you take the oath?
I agree with you.
How can you take the oath?
Okay.
Well, take it and mean it.
You have somebody who is born to a father who is stationed overseas.
Mm-hmm.
It very frequently, it depends on the country, they may have dual citizenship. He doesn't get to run for office.
No, he has to give up his citizenship in the other country.
Oh, he has to actively renounce his
you can only have one. You don't get to be an either or, in my opinion. Because you take an oath to uphold the Constitution. What does that citizenship in that other country mean?
My heart is with you. My heart is with you. My head can't understand why it's important.
It's a conflict of interest with the oath of office.
Is it, though?
You can't have two masters when it comes to this sort of thing.
That's not the way most people think about their citizenship.
Well, that's why I'm bringing it up.
Maybe that's the way they ought to think about it, but I don't think they think about it. It's just a weird inconvenience. But I would say by the time somebody gets up to that level of government, yeah, it would be a nice thing for them to do, to renounce their citizenship and say, I'm all in for the U.S.
Yeah.
On the other
Good night,
hand,
spittle buggies.
that's a requirement on one citizen that is greater than the requirement for other citizens to be elected. And I think you've got a problem there.
Well, originally when I was thinking about it, I was thinking anybody who takes that oath. Hey, Serenity's back.
Hi, Serenity.
Just temporarily, I'm making food and I'm waiting for it to cook. But
Is it from a meal kit? Just kidding. So what do you think? Have you been amazed by what's been going on with Fetterman? Because I didn't expect him to turn into the Fetterman that we have now.
I expected them to try to call him crazy and put his wife in.
Exactly. And that didn't happen. And now he's actually being weirdly based most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I have to respect. It's like, I'm glad you surprised me, sir. Thank you.
I mean, I wish you weren't caucusing with the Dems, but other than that, I really don't have a lot of complaints so far.
I'm a filthy, dirty centrist. As long as you're doing stuff that I agree with, I don't give a fuck whose party you're attached to.
Exactly.
And that's my stance. And
Yeah.
it's like, and especially, I think his wife's heritage is Middle Eastern, if I remember right. And I expected her to try to twist him toward a certain group for preference. But he seems to be staunchly, nah, screw you. I'm staying, Israelis are not bad.
Yeah, and he can talk good and everything now. I mean, it's not like he's not somewhat affected by it, but he's actually recovered a lot of his capabilities.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad he won instead of Oz, because Oz would have put him in a fucking embarrassment.
Yeah, well, I was thinking it was a terrible thing that Oz didn't win just because didn't want another liberal idiot Democrat in there. But Fetterman so far has just surprised the hell out of me, and in a good way.
Yeah.
I don't get a
it's
lot of good surprises like this.
Yeah, and it's like, I appreciate that, because it shows the ideals for which many of on the left state that they have are not the ideals of which they live by. And he at least seems to, at least what the stated ideals are.
Well, yeah, he's a liberal. He's like me.
Yeah.
He's more of a liberal, classic liberal. And before, like many moons ago, when we talked about when he was running, I had said back then I had listened to some of the stuff he said pre-stroke, and I liked him. Like, I thought, he was an air quotes good Dem. He's just in the wrong party, unfortunately, right now. But I mean, you know what? Like you just said, like regardless of party, if you're doing good work, I don't fucking care.
He does need one suit coat, though. I mean,
he does.
Yes,
he does.
He can blend in occasionally.
He attended some fucking function just the other week. He was wearing a full suit. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
He's not afraid of, dressing up when the occasion calls for it. Because when he was running, those were the two main points. People were really harping on him. They're like, oh, he talks like an idiot. It's like, bro, he just had a fucking stroke. And B, oh, he dresses like a slob. I'm like, what does that have to do with his policy? Talk about his previous work as mayor, the things that he said when he's been in office, as he's running for office. It's all been fairly middle of the road, but sensible stuff. Like, he wanted to do away with some of the zoning red tape for building houses when he was mayor. And I was like, good. Get rid of some of the bloat that's there, because that's what's preventing us from building houses. It's not the safety regulations of saying, you have to have this and for the safety reasons. It's all the other bloated, like, oh, you have to have your meter checked by this person and then this person, and then somebody has to come in and take a tape measure to your sewage waste line and make sure it's or any of this. I don't know because I don't own a home, but like I know that kind of stuff happens because I've seen the reports of breakdowns of all these officials that have to come to homes to inspect them when they're both being built, and after certain amounts of years, it all just adds up. So back to Fetterman, I've seen what we're seeing now before. I'm just glad he's in a better position to do it. And you know what? Back to the party thing. I do think that any common sense sort of Democrat is a boon overall, because it shows you how batshit insane the rest of them really are. Like, really are. To the people who need to see that, who are other Democrats.
Well, it's like any side. It's like it shows the more center-leaning Republicans. It's like, hey, not everybody's on the left is out of their fucking mind, and it shows the hardcore left, the ones who are dancing with the hardcore left, but not completely hardcore left. Like, you can be slightly more center and still be seen as right. That's okay. Like, you don't have to be this free everything for everybody except for the rich, because that's the only way to make it fair. But that's not exactly how that works. But anyway,
Do you have one of those meter probes?
who are you talking to?
Talking to you, the one with that pages your phone and makes that noise. Meter, MEATER. It's a probe for cooking roasts and things.
No, I just had a timer.
Oh, okay. Well, go deal with your stuff.
I do have a Ninja that does have a built-in one, though. But yes.
Okay. All right.
Those meat probes up here.
And for chat,
Meter.
if I don't come back in time, good night. Have a good day. Assassin, hopefully I will see you Wednesday.
What's on Wednesday? Gaming? Oh, she's gone.
Yeah, and she's gone.
Yeah. Meter, it's this thing here. It's pretty cool, actually. I have one of the early ones. And it's it takes a lot of the guesswork out of cooking meat.
Good.
It's not bad, actually. It does a pretty good job.
Oh, it's an actual.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about like meat thermometer type probe.
Well, it is like a meat thermometer, except it's
wireless.
It's wireless and talks to your phone, and the new ones actually measure stuff in multiple locations. Hey, it's a good prime rib is an expensive piece of meat. I will happily use a crutch if it makes me 5% less likely to screw it up.
Anytime I'm cooking prime rib, which is more expensive than cocaine by weight, yeah, I'm very careful with the internal temperature.
I find my mouth starting to water as I'm looking at these pictures of meat.
I'm looking away because I can't handle it right now.
Loving it.
I just like let's go back to Fetterman. That's not hunger provoking.
Appetizing.
Okay. Not appetizing at all. Are you with me, Functional, or are you going to be stepping away here? Okay. So the people at the Found Film Festival found some film, and I thought it was pretty funny. This is CougarInternational.com ad from the 90s.
Legendary Beverly Hills, home of CougarInternational.com, an international social
These
and
women are
business
terrifying.
networking community, online and offline, of confident women with younger men in mind, and the men who adore us for a moment or a lifetime.
So creepy.
I'm Yaya.
This is terrifying, isn't it? I mean,
So creepy.
Younger men will let a woman set up the relationship any way she wants to, and they are anxious to please us.
I mean, just
Another thing
keep it
about
on the
this
DL
is-
and go to a cougar bar. Like, come on.
yeah,
This is just bizarre.
this is bizarre. This has not aged well. This really has not aged well at all.
Neither have they.
Good one. 10 points to Gryffindor.
More of a
How about
Slytherin,
this? How about this
Social
one?
network. Timing is everything. I do not exclusively date younger men. I prefer well-maintained of any age. CougarInternational.com.
This is their friend that they brought in to
Yeah.
read
social
the script.
network for both men and women looking for friends, dating, networking.
Hey,
and
Dana, can you come do a little spot and read a little script for us?
we need a third person to make it look like we have members
need a
in our
brunette so we
in
don't
our,
look like-
in our stupid club. It's funny. We lost as soon as these women showed up. Suddenly, the number of people watching just started taking a huge nosedive. So I did find this one cringy thing from the National Post. Online dating causing a rise in U.S. income inequality, research paper shows. Now brace yourself, Skep. When you're able to get a bunch of information about people that you're going to date, like their education, what they do for a living and stuff, it means that people that are similar to each other in terms of their social and economic status tend to hook up. You don't have all those accidental, oh, she's poor, but she's got a heart of gold, etc. type things happening.
Yeah.
You have likes attracting likes, which is actually making income inequality worse because of the dating apps. That's the thesis here. And as much as it, first of all, I don't care because I just don't care about anything that involves income inequality like this. People should be allowed to do whatever the hell they want.
Right.
This is just a consequence of technology driving something. Because what are you going to do about it? No. You're only allowed to date people who make different amounts of money than you. No, that's just stupid. But they're probably right. I'll bet you it is actually doing that. Because it's doing this weird pre-screening thing where people... Yeah, it's probably right. And if income inequality bothers you, then this is probably something you should be upset about.
It may cause an increase in consciousness of income inequality. I think that's all it is, not a rise in it. I think it's just sometimes just looking at something can generate something that, online dating caused a rise in U.S. income inequality. Research paper shows no, you would have to bound an awful lot of factors and really control them to prove that to me.
I think on the face of it, it does sound reasonable, which is not to say that they proved it.
Yeah, it does sound reasonable. I just don't, like I said, exactly what you said. I don't think they've proved it at all. But they probably didn't even address it intelligently.
Yeah. I think there's also external factors that, like, a lot more women have gotten more higher education and higher positions than they did before. And there's also other things like being Instagram famous and cam models and stuff. Like, women have a lot more money than they did. Like, it's kind of exploded a bit since what it used to be. And so I think that also attributes to the inequality. Like, the like finding like, and also being attributes to the declining birth rate, as well as the lower rates of marriage. People aren't finding those long-term relationships.
Well, it is. I mean, we all know. Another thing that we know is true without having to provide sources. Men do not care about this stuff nearly as much. If a man meets a woman and he finds her interesting, the background check is not the first thing that's going to happen. If you get rid of dating apps, people, they date, they fall in love, somebody gets their student loans paid off, and if everything goes well, they live happily ever after. There's a lot of ifs there, right?
One chase, yeah.
But what we're
one chase and four.
But what we're seeing here now is, women, of course, for their survival, the stereotype, and I don't know because I'm not a female, so I don't really know, but the stereotype is basically that they really only want to date upwards.
Yeah, it's true.
It's not, I mean, the exception being, which I've seen a few times happen, where women will decide, here's a man who has a lot of potential.
I'll fix him.
I'll fix him.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what, Shecky? You're going to night school. Okay. I've literally seen this happen. Okay.
Yep. Yeah,
I've seen this happen where you go, what the hell is this schlubby dude doing with her? She's a fine bird here, a quality bird, right, as the English would say. And it's just, No, they decide to do a fixer-up. And, you know, I have seen those relationships do really well. The ones that I've seen. I think it's because they both end up investing so much in the relationship. She invests a lot in bringing Shecky up to snuff, right? And then he invests a lot to basically make her happy. Between the two of them, they're actually working toward a better future. And that seems to weirdly, or not surprisingly, work a lot of the time. I think people get way too, people tend to forget that relationships are actually work. So, not casting any aspersions on people who do that sort of thing, but a lot of women, certainly the ones that are talking about it in public, seem to really be wanting to trade up. And the dating apps let them do that. So we were talking about how the dating apps, since you can sort of pre-screen people for education and all sorts of other factors, might be increasing income inequality because people are only hooking up with people that are like themselves, financially, socially, whatever.
Okay.
Sounds reasonable, doesn't it?
So far.
Yeah, the thing is also, this is based on reported income, not actual income, so we don't know how many you're lying to.
Yeah.
Because trust me, I've heard some stories.
Yeah. Well, there's oftentimes when men and women will try to make themselves look like they're from a caste or whatever that they're not.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Absolutely, that's as old as time.
You can rent a Maserati.
Yeah. You can Airbnb a mansion. You can rent a Maserati.
You know, if you're dating somebody and they have a Maserati and they start to run low on gas and they can't figure out how to open the flap on the fuel tank, maybe it's not actually their car.
Yeah.
Little telltale sign. So
it's so easy to fake that kind of stuff now. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
It's and there's so easy to wait. There's so many different ways to catfish people now. It's ridiculous.
So I didn't want to do this without you, but I found this article which caught my attention. I'd sworn off dating apps until I heard about the burned haystack approach women are swearing by. So I put it to the test. Have you heard of the burned haystack approach?
No, but I don't go on dating apps, so.
No, I know. I'm just asking if you've heard of it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, if you're on dating apps, I'm sure you have, but if you're not on it, it's like...
mercifully, I've got imaginary girlfriends, so I don't need to worry about this sort of stuff.
There you go.
So I was looking at this thinking, oh, well, that sounds sad. And I hadn't looked up Burn Haystack yet, but it said, Nicole Apprentice thought she had given up dating apps for good. She's trying again after coming across the Burn Haystack dating method group on Facebook.
Lord.
We're going to go to that. As a single mom, she says the new method helps her avoid online dating from taking up too much time. So I go through the article. It says, after a 2.5-year break from the time suck of dating apps, I reluctantly reinstalled one on my phone a few weeks ago. Let's go to the burned haystack thing in a moment. But I scrolled down. Jenny Young, a professor of English and women and gender studies at the University of Wisconsin at Green Bay, has grown frustrated while looking for love online. And it's like, okay, wait a second. I think most men are going to be seriously leery of her just based on what's going to be in her dating profile.
Yeah.
I would not sign up for going on a date with somebody who's a professor of women's studies. That would be, that's just like banging your head against the wall over and over and over again. Why would I do that?
Yeah, and by that same point, she may not want a guy in tech. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like...
Oh, fine. I thought you were on my side.
I am on your side, but I'm
Christ.
saying that everybody's an asshole sometimes. What can I say?
Okay. So I was wondering what this burned haystack dating method is. And the idea behind it is you don't make your profile look super good. So that way you won't have as many people just superficially going after you.
That's fair. I can understand that.
Well, I mean, it seems like a strategy, but okay, to the men here, we all know what this means. It just means that what you're going to get a lot of are guys with beer goggles or something late at night who decide, yeah, I'll give her a shot. Nobody else is going to want her. I think you're going to get the wrong kind of guys trying to come after you with this approach.
Well, the problem is that with dating apps, I think Skep's asleep.
He might be.
Oh, sorry about that. I fell asleep for a minute.
That's okay.
Oh, you're good, dude. You're good.
I was just about to mute you. You know,
I'm so sorry about that.
You can say goodnight if you need to go get rest, man.
Yeah, that's all right.
We're almost done.
But it's like, it's the thing of like
You were about to say your crypto password. That's what I was worried about.
But it's a lot of, it's like the shit I see on social media. Like there's women who are like, I don't want to see a man with a fish in his profile. I'm country as fuck. I want to see what kind of fish you catch.
Oh,
So
I
it's
thought
that
you meant
kind
I thought you meant the Jesus fish. You were talking about an actual fish.
I'm talking about actual fish. Hold that fish up, boys. I want to see that damn thing.
Yeah.
But it's the whole fact of like, I kind of understand where it's coming from, but at the same time is that at least everything I've heard from friends and as well as stuff I've seen online, most dating apps have just turned into hookup culture now.
Yeah.
It's just either men or women looking for someone to fuck and they go away. And I understand what they're coming from with the not intentionally trying to make it look too good, but you're also catfishing the other direction, which is you're sitting there going, well, I don't want anything superficial. You're on a dating app. The dating app is like social media. It's superficial to begin with.
Well, just be truthful. Okay, maybe that's just like a start. Don't sell yourself short. Don't pretend you're something you're not. Just be truthful.
Show some pictures without makeup on, sweetheart. Guys, show your hobby. There are women out there like me who like guys who have those kinds of hobbies. They're out there. Most of us are on dating apps, sadly enough. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like, don't wear too much makeup. Don't use filters. Don't lie about who you are. Don't have to tell anybody your income, because fuck anybody who needs to know about your income, as long as they know you're not a druggie. And try to be honest, because at that point, because like you're not attracting who you actually want. You're attracting who you dream to want, and that's not always how it works.
Okay, so here's the description, because I didn't probably do a good job. In a nutshell, the burned haystack dating method is about having a bitchy, as Jenny calls it, dating profile that appeals to far fewer men in an effort to repel the Mr. Wrongs and reveal the Mr. Rights.
You do realize being bitchy brings the bad guys, you dumb bitch,
exactly.
right?
It is about gaming the dating apps by blocking instead of swiping left on every man who's a no for you. Jenny considers blocking to be the online dating equivalent of burning the haystack. She uses her education in linguistics to decode men's dating profiles and immediately block
There's
the
nothing
duds.
to decode in men's dating profiles. There's nothing to decode. If they have a fish in the profile picture and you don't like fishing, swipe left. Leave them for the women like me. Okay?
If they have a room devoted to model trains and all of the cars,
I would be up in that.
all of the cars only carry, none of them carry coal, they all carry quicklime. I don't know, maybe you should worry about that.
Yeah.
Why quicklime? No reason.
Yeah,
I'd love to date a guy who's in a model
This is
train.
the soil around here. Just got to add some base.
Well, quicklime's pretty amazing stuff, actually.
Oh, I've used lime for years.
Well, it's disinfectant. Like the dairies and things in Europe, when they would, back in the 17th century, 16th century, they would actually paint the walls with quicklime to keep all the bad stuff away from the cheese and the milk.
You know where that works miracles is in dog parks.
Yep.
Not kidding. You take that quicklime
Takes
in
care
there.
of all of it.
It does.
Nice.
It takes care of the stink.
And Assassin, dude, we talked. I play 7 Days to Die with you. Don't put the hoflation bullshit in chat. Hoflation is a myth. It is not a thing.
Hoflation?
It's the women think. How do I explain it? Women are lesser now than they were back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, because they think that they're better and thus they don't need a insert man. And it's like,
yeah,
okay,
like a fish needs a bicycle. Yeah.
Well, it's like, don't date those women.
Exactly.
There's plenty of women out there who aren't like that.
Well, okay, so how do we know what the real truth of things is? There's a reason why we hold elections. It's because looking at the news and social media and polling and all this sort of stuff, cold calling people and asking their opinions, it doesn't actually work. The only thing that tells you what people actually think is revealed preference. Yep. So if I go on YouTube and I see a bunch of this, what is it, like the Whatever podcast? And you've got people like that red-haired chick who talks about marriage all the time. I can't remember, Pearl. What is her name?
Yeah, Pearl.
Pearl.
Just pearly things.
You got all these people on there, right? And
who's never been married, never had a boyfriend other than one who used her for her money.
We don't know
Pearl
what
is a nut
we don't
job.
actually know what people are doing. Now I do know that a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, I don't mean to sound like Trump here, had a miserable time dating in California. And he moved to the middle of the country, met a good woman who likes to bowl. They both drink light beer together. He's got a couple kids. He's very successful. He's happier than he's ever been. And all he had to do was just not be in California. Yeah. So I'm totally willing to accept that there's a lot of those kind of women in California.
Well, the thing
hasn't been a problem. Hasn't been a problem for me. My life is fine. I get along with women just fine. Everything's been fine. I'm not complaining. But he had a hard time and he moved, changed venues. So we have, even just IRL, we have completely different experiences with this kind of stuff.
Well, it's also the myth of the 666 thing, where it's like every woman wants a man who makes over 6 figures, has a 6-pack, and is over 6 feet tall. Sweetheart, no. I am 5'4". I've dated guys who are my height, shorter, and maybe a couple inches taller than me. No, we don't. 6-pack abs is a mixture of bullshit cosmetics and genetics. Most men can't have it, and that doesn't mean they're not strong. And 6 figures, I have met so many 6-figure motherfuckers who don't know how to take care of their money or in so goddamn much debt, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
It's a thing made by they're like OnlyFans girls and televangelists. They're making shit up so this way people can be sadder, so this way they can make money by making you either watch their videos or buy their courses. Yep. That's all it is.
The thing is, I don't know what the answer is, honestly, because like I said, I've got friends whose lives in terms of like relations with the opposite sex have been great, easy.
Yeah, same.
Mine's fine. I'm happy. But I also have several friends who just, for the life of them, just can't seem to find somebody to match up with. And I don't think modern society is making things any better. And I certainly don't think that a lot of the attitudes are there. So I'm sympathetic to the idea of hoflation, but I don't think it's like a reason to give up.
Yeah.
I think the hoes are the ones making the most noise. So what the real truth is, who the hell knows? I don't know. I honestly don't know. All I can tell you is that my personal experience is I see some people really struggling. I see other people doing just fine. And I know that the people that got the hell out of California, life got a hell of a lot better in the dating world. That's what I know.
It's everything in life. It's luck. As much as I hate to say it, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, it's luck. Almost a lot of stuff, yes, hard work is involved. I agree with hard work is involved in some cases. But hard work can lead to better luck. That doesn't mean that you go celibate or you go to a matchmaker and have them do all the hard stuff for you. It's just, sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes it's a change of venue. Sometimes it's stepping back, chilling out, and not watching those videos anymore, whether you're a man or a woman, because there's the women's side of the content too, which is absolute bullshit as well.
So what do you think of matchmakers? I think, honestly, just in theory, I think they're a great idea. To have somebody who knows both people try to like say, hey, why don't you guys give this a shot? Not like they're forced to get married, but just give this a shot.
Yeah,
right?
No, I like the idea of matchmakers, like actual legit matchmakers. That's what the dating apps are trying to algorithmize out. And it's like there's a certain thing that when you interact with a person, you get part of who they are. And good matchmakers can figure out, okay, you say this, what you actually mean is this. So I'm going to find you something either in the middle or something that's closer to this. And here we go. And that's the reason why the good ones, like anything, do really, really well. Because what you say you want and what you actually want are two different things.
Yeah, an online dating profile is a lot like a resume.
Oh, yeah.
All you're trying to do is just, get through the first cut. And you're never going to learn anything about somebody until you actually meet them in person and spend serious time actually talking to them.
And like most resumes, a lot of people lie on them too.
Yeah. God, I hate it when people lie on resumes and stuff. It's when it comes to business stuff, it's like, if you make a mistake, just own up to it, but don't lie to me. I really don't like being lied to in business.
No.
And I will cut off my nose to spite my face if you lie to me in business.
Oh, yeah. No.
I will take the short-term loss to not have to deal with you anymore.
Agreed. They're not worth the
Agreed. Well, anyway, I think we ticked all the boxes that were on the thumbnail. So nobody can claim that I didn't deliver all the things I said I was going to deliver.
Harry, no one ever should complain about your show. It's a great show.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I try. And, I think it gets better a lot of times. The main thing is we're all just so tired. Why is it that everybody is so tired? The whole world is tired.
I'm actually doing okay right now, but anyway.
Okay.
Also, no one forget, Functional has a show on, is it Fridays, Functional?
Thursday.
Well, what is it? I don't
I
know
don't watch
about
till
it.
Friday. It's on the Minions channel.
Wait, what?
Wait, on the Minions.
I thought it was. You come up on my thing.
Oh, no, you're doing that other
Tyr
thing.
does
Yeah.
Mondays and
Yeah.
it was filling.
Oh
in
yeah, I
for-
knew about that.
My picture's on there, but Mondays are difficult for me, so it's sparse that I get a chance to get on.
Well, it's
But
just
no,
your
but Tyr,
picture's
Mitch,
functional.
Kefki, and Angela Arriaga and I do a movie review show Thursdays on YouTube and Rumble on Tyr's channel and on Mitch Nemo's channel on Rumble, and we have fun. We watch exclusively indie movies and we talk about them and have a good time.
Yep.
Which sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, because there's a lot of schlock out there in Hollywood, and we're watching potentially a lot of schlock that isn't Hollywood, and also some hidden gems that we're all just kind of like metaphorically looking at each other, going, "What the fuck did we just watch? That was incredible."
Yeah.
Like we watched a, I think it was a 7-minute Resident Evil fan film, and we were all
God.
kind of just blown away by like how good it was.
Yep. I've seen that one.
Simple, to the point, one and done. Whereas we've seen some like actually movies with some budget going, oh my god, this is one of the worst things we've ever seen. So it's all over the place. It's fun.
Yeah.
Check it out.
All right, so check that out. Do you have a link for that? It's on Tyr's channel, right?
We'll
said?
buy time. But don't forget to join us again next Saturday, ladies and gentlemen, unless you're on the East Coast and it's Saturday into Sunday. Skep has retired from the Minions.
Oh, yeah.
Other than being here.
Well, I haven't retired from the Minions.
No.
Wait a minute. What?
I meant from your show.
Well, I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm not hosting.
Well, hold on. Assassin was saying, and talking about the whole HR thing. Yeah, I was the whole time I was talking about the dating thing. I was thinking about the HR thing. Dude, the HR thing is bad, and it's bad for people like you and bad for a bunch of other people. The bad thing about a lot of this is that people will post jobs, and even if somebody comes along as qualified, for some reason they won't pull the trigger and hire the person. That's the thing that I'm seeing is people who are absolutely qualified, jobs that go unfilled. And it's really like they're just sort of putting them out there to see who will apply. But even if they find somebody who's qualified, they just won't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And that's just messed up because that's not dealing in good faith with people. If you post something with a job, there better be an actual rec behind it that's been approved by somebody. It's because it's almost like fraud. You're basically saying you have a job that you don't have, and you are wasting people's time.
That is absolutely fraudulent.
Assholes. Anyway.
Agreed.
So, any
There's a
final
link in the
thoughts?
chat to Tyr's channel, and when we're done here, go over there. They're streaming.
I had one quick fun thing.
Please,
I
go.
wanted to just add as a denouement for the evening, and that is that I got a phone call the other day, and they said, "This is about your hernia. We can now book you in about." We've got an opening coming up for a month from now, and we can get you in to get your, get the CAT scan done on, to get ready, and then we'll schedule you time to get your hernia done. The last time I heard from these people was 2017, and they got back to me. I've been on the hernia list since then, 7 years. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Unbelievable. And so, yeah, November 6th, I go in for my the CAT scan thing. They'll look at it, and about 2 weeks later, they'll do the surgery. About Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Yep.
Huh?
Fun stuff.
Fun stuff.
Fast medicine from the VA. 7 years.
Yeah. I hope they give you some Tylenol for after that's done.
I can't wait to tell Prospero.
You have to wait another 7 years for the Tylenol.
So we're done, right?
No, they don't give any pain. They don't give any pain relievers at all. None.
Yeah. Because they
None.
cause addiction.
That's right. That's right.
Bunch of morons.
Well, yeah. The only thing they can give you is Tylenol. They can't even give you ibuprofen.
Can you recuperate in Mexico? Because basically you can get some painkillers as soon as you land in the airport.
Well, no. The answer is you recuperate at home. You don't rely on doctors.
Gotta ice it.
You know.
Just kidding.
Walk it off.
Yeah, walk it off. That's a good
that's
idea there,
basically what
Bobby.
they tell you.
Yeah.
But America could stand being a little more tough.
Yep.
You know.
Well, there was a episode of King of the Hill where Hank normally tells Bobby and everybody just to walk it off and stuff, and I think he ends up getting like a bad back problem and starts doing yoga.
Yeah, I remember that episode. Yeah.
God, that show was great. I love that show so much. Anyway, this has been your Minions of the Zoo for Saturday. Thank you, panel. Thank you, chat. Zoo's closed. Good night, everybody.